now. Good morning, everybody. What an incredible weekend we're having. All leading up to this remarkable winter solstice, the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter. For the past 12 days, the Whole Person Convergence has been doing so much powerful work. And so many of you have been a part of that. Last night we had a beautiful sacred Saturday Night Alive show, and a lot of you watched that. And so I want to welcome everybody. I want to welcome those of you that are live watching us on Facebook. I want to welcome those of you in our Zoom meeting room. And I want to welcome those of you who watch the replay, because the majority of people who watch this show watch the video replay. You're all important. All of us, each and every one of us, if you hear my voice, if you're watching this live or on the recording, know that you are a precious part of a global awakening. It's really happening. This amazing, challenging time that we're in is humanity's birth from an old paradigm of right, wrong, good, bad, polarized, me versus them, survival-oriented consciousness, where humankind has been for a long time, into that new world that we all have tasted, that we all are so yearning for, of genuine peace, harmony, the remembrance that we are all one. We're all drops in this amazing ocean in the mind of God, in the mind of the eternal beloved. Today's going to be an amazing day. This show, which is normally much shorter, is going to be about 3 hours long, highlighted by Lynn McTaggert, who's going to join us from England, leading a powerful experience. Sadiq has brought in his crew, and so there's going to be a lot of the people from Whole Person Convergence, and we're going to really commune together in beautiful and powerful ways. I'd like to take a moment for us to just get centered. So unless you're operating a motor vehicle, I'd like to invite people to close their eyes. Let's all drop in together for a few minutes. And we always start with the breath. So breathing at your own pace, deep inhales, deep exhales, just allowing my voice to gently guide you. And I invite you, as you do the breathing, the conscious breathing, to really go inside, really connecting to yourself. And I also invite you to wait a couple seconds between each inhale and each exhale. The nature of consciousness, the nature of life, is to expand and contract, to breathe in and out, birth and death. That space in between the inhale and the exhale, that space in between birth and death and death and birth, is the void. It's the void of infinite possibility. And so as we breathe, we also notice that space in between. And that's where infinite possibility lies. And that's the place to hold the highest vision, the longing of your heart, the wisdom of your oversoul, your higher self, your God self, whatever you call it. So inviting you to place into that sacred space between inhale and exhale your highest vision for humanity's future and your own personal future. continuing to breathe, continuing to create, and knowing that we're all creating together, adding our pieces of the puzzle, our each unique awareness, wisdom, medicine, understanding, weaving a beautiful tapestry of the new paradigm, our new world. Remembering that, like the imaginal cells of a dying caterpillar that find each other and become a butterfly, likewise, we are finding each other through these events, through these experiences, coming together, creating a beautiful new world. When you're ready, opening your eyes. And I want to welcome all of our friends that have joined us here in the Zoom room. Welcome to all of our friends watching on Facebook Live and the recording. We have a really beautiful day ahead of us, and I'm not going to put the spotlight on my friend and brother, Sadiq, to share with you what we've got planned for the day. You're muted, Sadiq.
Yeah, the invisible wall of modernity known as mutation. Good morning, Scott. Good morning, friends. Thank you again for having us on your show and being partner with us for not just today and not just this weekend, but for both weekends as a part of the entire Whole Person Convergence, which, as you know, started on December 10th with a pre-event with one of our partners from the Greater Collective, who did a beautiful weaving, a 3-hour event, bringing together organizations, leaders from all over the world, and doing sort of like a demonstration of what does it take to create a global culture of peace by sharing a stage with each other to show all our different beautiful gems as we contribute to the whole. And so with that pre-launch, we lit the fire of what was then a 12-day journey, which today is day 10 of that journey of the Whole Person Convergence. The Whole Person Convergence is basically a journey into wholeness. The main producing entity is Earthwalk. We had also our friends at Sign Network here with Scott Katamis and Deborah Giusti, also with Saturday Night Alive, and a number of other different organizational partners working in the field of wellness, of wholeness, and creating a global culture of peace. And so what we did for the first, well, I guess I'll just kind of give the context with how we started the whole thing. On Friday evening, on December the 11th, we began to paint the picture of what does wholeness look like? And what does it feel like if we're creating a global culture of peace, which is what our mission is all about? It's really important to understand, like, what do we mean by peace? And from our perspective, peace is no different than just wholeness, being able to be in touch with all of our parts, whether that's our body or it's the body of our society or the body of our planet or our cosmos. So being in touch with all of our parts and learning how to be in a healthy relationship with them. So what we did for the last 9 days is begin to paint a map of what are all the parts of society, business and economics, justice and protection, governance and sovereignty, education and learning, spirituality and religion, infrastructure and resource, energy and consumption, so forth and so on. And we painted this map again, because if we're going to create a global culture of peace, it's really important to understand our parts. And then once we have a deeper understanding of what's in the field, we can then start engaging with those different parts. And we can start to look at how are we in relationship with each of those parts? And how are each of those parts feeling? Like in education and learning, how whole does that realm feel? Does it feel like it's getting the love that it needs and deserves? In politics, so in governance and learning, same question. Is that realm of society getting the love that it needs to help do its job as a part of the whole in order to create a wholesome, loving society? And so, because, from our perspective, creating a global culture of peace is nothing different than creating a wholesome, loving society. We can take it out of the context of only, oftentimes people think of peace on earth. They think of peace between nations, no fighting, no wars, and that level. That's one lens. It's one view, and that's oftentimes the lens, let's say, through the nation state. But we want to bring that conversation down into a full embodied experience and ask, what does a healed state look like? What does a loving environment look like in science and technology? What does it look like in business and economics? So we're not just thrusting it onto our governments as their task to do, but rather it's the task of all of us to do. It's the task of teachers. It's the task of business women and men. It's the task of our farmers and our all of the parts, all of the tenders of society. And so what we did for the last week or so is paint that picture and break it down. We went through all the different realms. Day by day, we started first, after that Friday that I just mentioned, the 11th, we then spent an entire day as the first step of diving into what does wholeness look like in each of those 12 realms? Because if we're wanting to get somewhere, it's an important idea to take the time to ask ourselves, well, what do we think that looks like? And so we brought in experts in those fields in all 12 of the sectors. And on 1212 itself, purposefully chosen, we asked two experts in each field, led by another steward of that realm, of that sector of society, what does wholeness look like? And we spent the entire day exploring in each realm what that looks like. Then last Sunday, we joined Scott here on Sacred Sundays, and we gave a context and we launched a movement. We launched the Me3 movement. And in short, just to kind of encapsulate all of what we did then, was we talked about, in a lot of the frame of society that we currently operate in, there's a approach commonly of polarity. It's an us and them mentality. I'm the victim, you're the perpetrator. I'm the rescuer, you're the victim. I'm the perpetrator, you're the rescuer, so forth and so on. It's there's oftentimes a polarity that happens. And so we actually, with this concept and with sort of a play on words, what we felt was really essential and important to offer as a new lens to society was moving from 2 to 3. So, the whole concept of Me Too to Me 3, it's playing with words, but it's also a really deep concept. Then moving from that polarity, the 2, I know that's TOO, but TWO, moving from the place of 2 where there's polarization and opposition, an us and them game, and moving to a game of 3, a trinity or divinity, where all 3 points of the trauma triangle, victim, rescuer, and perpetrator, all 3 are encircled with love. Because from our perspective, no one ever gets to the point of perpetration without having hurt done to themselves. Hurt people hurt people. And so we kept saying, within the context of a polarity frame, whether it's dealing with sexual trauma or political trauma or religious trauma or all the different forms in which we are wounded within society, when we try to figure out who's the bad guy and who's the good guy, we end up basically splitting apart society with a cancel culture that ultimately doesn't really heal. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a gushing wound. And so we wanted to offer a frame that really invited people into a powerful process that would allow for the level of healing that we believe it will take to heal issues like what we're seeing coming beautifully forward to the surface with the Me Too movement and sexual trauma. And so we then spent time after giving that context of let's look at the pain in all of the 12 realms. Like, let's see what are the pain points, like, injustice and protection, as we all know, with the issue that's been brought to the forefront with Black Lives Matters. We know that there's a major issue in our Justice and Protection Department. Like, we know that there is some reform that needs to happen. But are we going to go into that conversation with the context of police are bad and, the Black community or the different minority communities are the victims? Like, or are we going to elevate the conversation and be like, okay, there's perpetration happening, and that needs to be addressed, and needs to be addressed with some strong force and energy, and it also needs to be encircled with love. Because if we're circling the issue with the format that we've seen, we're creating good guys and we're creating bad guys. We're basically separating society. We're creating more rift. We're creating more tear. And from our perspective, that doesn't actually serve anyone. And so we're wanting to move beyond that paradigm. And so in that scenario, as we go through that realm, we'd be like, okay, how do we provide the police officers, as an example, with the resources they need so they're not acting out in ways that are causing harm? How do we give them the trainings they need so they're not acting from a place of racism or systemic oppression? And we're not making them bad or wrong, but we're giving them the love that they need. And the same thing, like with the Black community, like, how do we encircle them with love and this trauma and make sure that they're not put into situations where they are fearing for their life whenever they're getting pulled over, as an example, just for having a rear light not working on their vehicle. So we did that with all the different realms for 6 days, starting last Sunday. We went 2 rounds each day with 4 realm representatives and a steward per realm, sort of painting the picture of what are the pain points in each of these realms and how can we encircle those traumas with love. And so today, and I'm really quickly checking in, Scott, has Lynn joined us yet?
Lynn isn't here yet. I kind of keep track. So what'll happen is when she does get here, I'll kind of pop in and I'll let you know that and welcome her.
Beautiful. So, so today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be highlighting one of the 12 realms, and I'll speak to that in a moment. And part of why we have the lineup that we have for today's show, including Lynn McTaggert, including Deirdre Hayde, including Russell Feingold, Gary Malkin, and a few others I'm noticing who are not yet in the room: Christina Tobin of Free and Fair Elections, and Paul Sterling, John Kenyon, and Corey Tyler from across the aisle. But before I go there, before I dive into what the specific context is for today's show, which is the realm of governance and sovereignty, it's the realm of politics, I'm going to share what we did then after we went through the 12 realms. Yesterday, well, actually starting Friday night with Scott Katamis and Trish Wright, we did what we called a steward roundtable. So we invited all the stewards from each of the 12 realms of society to come together on Scott and Trish's show. And we had this sacred conversation where each of the different stewards stood in as if they were speaking, as if they were the realm itself, that as if they were, the people. So, for example, in justice and protection, as if they were the police officers, the EMTs, the firefighters, the judges, all the aspects that fit into justice and protection. And all the different stewards started having sacred conversation. Maybe arts and culture needed to talk with business and economics, that something between their relationship was creating a scenario in society that wasn't actually in service to all. Or same thing with justice and protection in relationship to science and technology. Maybe the way in which they're relating, or there's a cosmology between 3 or 4 of them, and the dynamic is causing pain in the system. And so what we did is we had sacred talks where we invited the members of the family, if you will, the family of society, to come and talk, to share about where there might be pain points between the realms. So we first started with the pain points within each realm, but naturally we're all interconnected. There's no way that we can separate one from the other. And so we then dive into, how do the pain points between each realms begin to intersect? And how can we lovingly address those without making any of the sectors bad or wrong, without neglecting one or the other, without showing preference for one over the other? It's interesting, like, as someone who oftentimes lands in the realm of relations and peace building, sometimes thinking that my realm is more important than another realm. It's not. And looking at those sacred wounds that cause that, and working to have the sacred conversations, to have a balancing, to have a harmonization between and amongst all of the voices, all of the realms, so that we can create that global culture of peace. And in short, meaning that my relationship with myself is good, that my relationship with you is good, that my relationship with the planet is good, that I'm treating you with respect, you're treating me with respect. You sort of like, I lovingly joke around about this, because I think this is actually the context, but the Three Musketeers, and 3, as I mentioned, is a very holy number in our cosmology with Earthwalk, but the 3 Musketeers of all for one and one for all. And that, that was a little tagline, if you will, in a movie, but the potency and the power of what that concept was all about, I actually believe, and Earthwalk holds, that that's the sacred ingredient for creating a global culture of peace, where science and technology honors governance and sovereignty, and that governance and sovereignty honors education and learning, so forth and so on. And that we're consistently learning what are the gifts that each of us are giving into the situation, and where do we each need help? Because we're always needing help. Every single one of us, all of the realms are always needing help. So how do we do that?
Sadiq, I would love to suggest, because we've got so many wonderful other stewards and people here, I'd love to hear maybe from some of your other stewards. Hear from Russell and Wendy and Deirdre, and hear from them a little bit, so that we're engaging the people that are blessing us with their time and their attention. How does that sound?
That sounds great. And I'm gonna, while we do that, just see where Lynn is. So that was
Okay, sounds great.
yeah.
So yeah, I would love to open it up. Maybe Deirdre, Russell, I know you were a couple of the first people that came on. How do you relate to this concept and what are you experiencing and what can you provide? And I'm going to add you to the spotlight so we can see you all here. There you are. Hey, welcome.
Thank you. Great. Thank you. I'll share. I'll chime in. Good morning.
Good morning.
You. Hello, everybody. This is a subject near and dear to my heart. It really comes down to, what you have created here. We have created. We're all coming here because we heard a call that of yes, that's in my heart. So thank you for creating this. Holistic citizenry. Holistic citizenry is when we step out of the child consciousness that someone else is going to fix the problem and that someone else is the big government or the big uh, school or some hierarchy is going to fix the problems. That paradigm needs to shift, and it is shifting. This is what the conversation is, I believe, that this paradigm is shifting, that we are mature, we become mature human beings. And we say, okay, I can act as my own citizen, not outside of the law, but what can I mobilize? What can I do? Spiritual activism. How can I heal my community at this level? And if I get help from above, that's gravy. But we won't be able to make the systematic healing and deep changes we need to change unless we have our millions and millions of beautiful souls working at this level from the bottom up. We have to take that pyramid and it is time to just turn it upside down or turn it around so that we are the ones creating the hierarchy as opposed to the hierarchy creating us. So thank you. I'll turn this over to one of our other beautiful stewards.
Beautiful. Thank you, Deirdre. I really appreciate what you shared. Here's Russell. Hey, Russell.
Hey, brother. What a journey we've been on. Not just the last, I don't know, what day are we on? I don't even, the beauty of the alchemy of this whole thing is we've all felt it at some point as we've dissolved into a timeless space, which is really where the magic happens. So I just want to thank Sadiq and Scott and everyone, all the stewards here and all the representatives for creating such a potent container for transformation to happen. What is most impactful for me about what this has all been about is during this time of quarantine and isolation, I personally felt more connected to other people and to a greater community than I have in a long time. So it's not dependent upon a physical proximity, but it's dependent upon the depth of care and intention and quality of prayer that we're coming together with. And obviously we are in a very precarious time, a very intense time, and also a very potent time for change. If we are willing to take a deep look within ourselves and really take a look at how we can be part of the solution. And that's exactly what's happening here for me and for so many. The conversations are happening here, and there are others who are having them too. And I applaud everyone who is embracing the courage to have the hard conversation, the challenging conversation, the sticky conversation, because it's already here. It's already lying in the subconscious. And we can see how society is acting out in so many ways. So I am so grateful to be part of this conversation that needs to be happening. It's needed to happen for a long, long time. And what's come to the surface is just that. It's come to the surface. It's been here for so long. And we now have we are now moving with this energy and gaining momentum with having these conversations of how we can truly coexist. How can we actually live in peace on this planet? And so thank you all for adding your voice and your heart and showing up, not as a cool concept, but really showing up with all your wisdom and your lived experience to really come together and make change and really create a world of peace.
Thank you so much, Russell. That was right on and exactly. We all are coming together. We're all playing our role. Every single one of us. Some of us are on camera. Some of us are a little bit more famous, but every one of us has a beautiful role to play, bringing our wisdom, bringing our medicine, bringing our own unique experience of life as we all come together to create this beautiful tapestry of the new paradigm. I want to welcome those of you tuning in to our Secret Sunday show. And I see that Lynn McTaggert has joined us from England. So we're really excited to have you with us, Lynn. I'm going to bring you on here. And welcome to Secret Sundays. We're really happy to have you with us.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so pleased to be here and to be launching what I hope is going to be an amazing initiative for bringing people together, people who have been polarized in every direction, whether it is the police and Black Lives Matter proponents, whether it is Republicans and Democrats, whether it is far left and far right. The whole point is that we do have, as you said, we've got to have these conversations, and we've got to start looking at reaching across the aisle. So what I'm going to talk about today and actually show you is a fast track to reaching across. And it really has to do with essentially getting together with what is secular prayer. And so I'm going to share with you some of what I've been doing. Let me just share my screen.
Sure.
And I think I can do that and share.
You have permission, so it's all good.
Okay.
There we go.
Okie doke. And so I want to talk to you about a little project that I've been doing since 2007. It's called the Intention Experiment. And what I wanted to do was see whether or not our thoughts are powerful enough to affect physical matter. And also if our thoughts get supersized when we do it together in a group. So I started working with scientists around the world who are involved in consciousness research and had them set up a series of well-controlled experiments. And then I would invite my audience or my internet audience or an actual audience, if I had an audience, I was in front of an audience, to send an intention to this well-controlled target. So far we've run 35 of these experiments, and I wasn't even sure they were going to work. But we've done everything from trying to make seeds grow faster, to purifying water with our thoughts, to lowering violence in war-torn areas, to trying to heal someone of post-traumatic stress disorder. So of those 35, 31 have shown measurable, positive, mostly significant effects. But I want to show you why that's not the point of the story. So one of the ones that I ran, you'll see right here, was called the Healing America Peace Intention Experiment. And for this, we decided to choose the most violent place in America that we would send healing intention to. And there it is, St. Louis, Missouri, officially noted as the most violent place in America. So we sent intention to the most violent portion of the most violent place in America, which is an area called Fairground. Now, Fairground luckily, the St. Louis police keep very, very good records. So I worked with a University of California professor of statistics to work out if we had any kind of effect. And here's what happened. 6 months after our experiment, we looked at stats before and afterward. We compared them with Fairground and also all of St. Louis, and we found that St. Louis violent crime continued to go up, St. Louis property crime continued to go up, Fairground property crime continued to go up, but Fairground violent crime went down by 43%. Very interesting. Not the point of my story. Something else happened, something really remarkable. After St. Louis, I survey participants all the time to find out what sort of thing happened to them. How did that work? And how did it work? And also, did anything else change in their lives? And so some of the participants said things like this. one participant said it's healing with the relationship between all of us, my mother and her daughters. So one daughter talked about her whole family reuniting. Someone else said, my father called out of the blue and apologized for disowning me. Things smoothed out unexpectedly with my difficult new boss. It's night and day now. My estranged son has suddenly more time for me, calls me and comes to see me after 20 years. I get thousands of these kinds of, uh, of comments in these surveys where their own lives, the participants' own lives, have been healed. So the same thing happened when we tried to heal someone of PTSD. That is Gulf War veteran Todd Voss, who had such bad PTSD that he would have to walk into a room and put his back against the wall and survey everything. He was hyper vigilant. So we sent an intention for him to heal. And not only did Todd never have to go back for treatment after that, not only did he travel, something he couldn't have done before, and he met the love of his life. He now has a child. You know, he is, to all intents and purposes, fine. But things happened with my participants too. So here's what happened. We sent intention to heal someone. People had a mirror effect, and they also had healings. We had someone saying their pain in the knee is gone. We had somebody else say that their gut, which was suffering from IBS, felt normal, and sciatic pain, somebody else overcame that. Anxiety and panic attacks and mental issues like that were better. And, you know, hip issues improved, skin conditions improved. People were healing. A mirror effect was happening. The people who sent intention themselves essentially had a rebound effect. So I started looking at this, and for the 10th anniversary, and I worked with Sadiq Greenberg and another team he was working with at the time. We decided to partner on a 10th anniversary intention experiment. And all of us were pretty sick of seeing those buildings come down every anniversary, and decided to provide a different scenario. So I do a lot of speaking around the world, and one person who hosts me in the Middle East is a guy called Dr. Salah Al-Rashid, shown here. He is like the Deepak Chopra of the Middle East. And I asked him to partner with me and get all of his Arab followers to come together with all of my Western followers. And we would do an intention for the two southern provinces of Afghanistan, which were the stronghold of the Taliban. You can see it, Helmand and Kandahar. And we sent an intention, and afterward I got hold of statistics from NATO. This is a German general from NATO, saying there was this sudden plummeting of violence, longest sustained downward trend in enemy-initiated attacks recorded by the NATO forces, the combined forces. Not the point of the story, though. Something else happened. I had a Facebook page, and afterward, it was amazing. I started watching the Arabs writing to the Americans writing to the Arabs, befriending each other, sending love to each other, essentially forgiving each other. And that gave me a big idea that I was able to carry out a few years ago. In 2017, November, so just a few years ago, I had the opportunity to work in a studio where we could beam out to nine or 10 locations. So we put cameras in conference rooms in 8 different Arab cities. And the 9th one, we put in an auditorium filled with Israeli Jews. Now, many of us over here in America or in the West probably don't appreciate what happens in the Middle East between Arabs and Jews to a full extent. As some told me afterward, I grew up never meeting a Jew, said one Arab. My parents taught me that they have horns growing out of their heads. And that's the kind of dialogue and scenario that people from these various regions often grow up with. So we decided to bring them all together and send intention to an area of Jerusalem that was suffering from a lot of violence, the Damascus Gate area of Jerusalem. There was a lot of violence there. So we figured, well, Jerusalem belongs to the world. We can bring everybody together. And it was really fascinating because with this intention experiment, the Arabs were very distrustful of the Jews initially, and the Jews were very distrustful of the Arabs. So it was really interesting just trying to bring them together to agree to this experiment, but they did. And I'd like to show you what happened. So this is a little film clip. The auditorium is the group of Israeli Jews, and you'll see because of this amazing studio, I was able to speak to people in those different locations, those 8 different Arab cities, and they were able to speak back to all of us, and the same with the Israelis in the auditorium. So after the intention experiment, I asked them to tell us how they felt. And so here's what happened. So are you ready to begin now, everybody? Our intention is to lower violence and restore peace in the old city of Jerusalem by at least 10% or more. Imagine it with your 5 senses. See people putting down their weapons. See people restoring peace there. See people hugging each other, hugging strangers, reaching across the aisles. Hold those intentions in your mind as you imagine yourself holding the hands of everyone on either side of you. If you're watching on YouTube, imagine you're holding the hands of everybody, all the thousands of people on this call. Can you feel the connection? Are you seeing peace? We have someone from
Amman. It is amazing experience. We all here crying at the room, our tears falling down.
Like a big party. I like to have fun, so I feel fun. I feel like I was young again, like I'm in a big party.
Like a commercial that you see on the road, and it was written, the peace is already here. Yes.
Jeddah in Saudi Arabia.
I saw myself there, and I felt very strong love for the Jews, in spite of our raising up to hate the Jews. Beautiful feelings, beautiful images of unity, oneness, love, and peace.
We live in Jerusalem. We know it personally. And I've seen images of hugging, of soldiers and Arab people, of kindness one to another, of flowers all around Damascus Gate. This is so emotional. And I've seen the 4 quarters of the old city as the 4 rooms of my personal heart.
Yes, you're on Abu Dhabi.
Israelis are dancing, the Palestinians, they hug each other, and we are with the Israelis, like we share peace and love, which is an amazing thing. And I want to thank you and everybody participate in this participation.
Tunisia.
Yes, Tunisia. We saw a lot of children running and laughing. And there is a lot of butterflies and wearing a white clothes and running. And there is a lot of a loud voice of laughing.
You took me to the place I really love. I saw there a sunny day, a lot
lots of people laughing, lots and lots and lots of joy and happiness. I wish I could stay there. I wish I didn't come back.
My name is Fatima Salemi, and the peace in Arabic means salam, and my name is Salami. So I feel in peace, I feel in love. I love all people in the whole world. I love you. I love you so much, and I feel full of love and full of peace. Your God is my God. I love you.
My name is Lily from Jerusalem. It's so overwhelming, the possibility to be connected with you, our sisters in Amman and in Damascus and in Iran and all over. We are thousands, hundreds of thousands of women here saying enough. It's about time to unite. We are one. It's time of compassion.
So we're going to, if they can do it, so can we. So we're going to have a little practice session today. I want to introduce you to a series of heel polarization intention experiments. And I'm going to do that by having you just practice and taste what it's like to be part of an intention experiment. So I want to show you my experimental phrase. So I'm going to put this back on again. Hang on one second. Let me just try that again.
You know, while you're doing that, Lynn, I just want to say we're getting a lot of comments from people, deep tears flowing, really dropping into the beauty of this work, the power of this work. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I want them to actually experience this. So let me just share this again. And I want to just talk to you, just give you a little science as to why this is so powerful. Hang on, there you go. So I did some work studying some work at the University of California at Berkeley. And it's with a guy called Dacher Keltner. And he's a psychologist at UC Berkeley. And he did an amazing study that answered it for me. How could these disparate, warring people come together after one intention experiment? And his experiment was to take groups of students at Berkeley and divide them into two. And he showed them pictures, very different pictures. The first group had pictures of the world's victims, starving children, things like that. And the second group were shown pictures designed to elicit pride, you know, pictures of themselves, of Berkeley itself, of the football games they had against their main rivals, Stanford, or, you know, pictures of students like them. So afterward, he showed them all kinds of other kinds of people, very different kind of people. And group one started identifying with people who were not like them, the homeless, prisoners, people, if they were Republicans, Democrats, and vice versa. Whereas group two only identified with the kinds of people they either students or the kinds of people they were going to become, doctors, lawyers, wealthy people. And he was fascinated, and he realized that the key to all of this is the vagus nerve, longest nerve in the body, attaches through all of the organs of your body, and basically is involved when we feel compassion. It helps release oxytocin, which is the love hormone. So in a sense, this is the love nerve. And what he found, and what I've found, is when compassion is elicited and all of this stuff is turned on, the heart also leaps across the fence. And that's what we're doing with an intention experiment. That's why it's so potent to bring groups like this together, because it's a fast track to connection. So I want you to experience this yourself, because when you do this, you do suddenly recognize somebody not like you as a fellow human being. So this is the intention we're going to try. This again is a little taster for you. We're going to be running an intention experiment the weekend before the inauguration, the Sunday, January 17th. And what we're going to do then is put together disparate people. We're going to have some policemen, we're going to have people from Black Lives Matter, we're going to have Republicans, we're going to have Democrats. And the reason we're doing that is to demonstrate that it's this easy for the heart to leap across the fence. Now, I'm putting this picture up with our intention experiment for a reason. This is Patrick Hutchinson. He's the Black guy. When there were protests in the UK, where I live in London, there were some big clashes between Black Lives Matter folk and the alt-right. Now, Patrick Hutchinson is a grandfather, but a personal trainer who went to one of these protests just to make sure that young Black men didn't get in trouble. And in the middle of that, there was this giant skirmish between the two sides. And one of the members of the alt-right movement got knocked to the ground and was about to get his head kicked in. And Patrick scooped him up and in a big fireman's lift, lifted him over his shoulder and got him to safety. So I think he is a brilliant example of the heart leaping across the fence. So I want us to hold the following intention. And because we can't be here in person, I've just put together a little movie that is essentially me running an intention experiment to a live group of people so that you can experience it as though you were holding hands with people, all the people who are on this broadcast. So our intention, this is what I want you to hold, is our intention is for Washington, D.C. and Georgia to be immediately and permanently free of all political and social justice, violent protest and unrest. I'm sure you heard that there was a big bust up between the Proud Boys and the people on the other side in Washington last weekend. So we're sending a little intention for peace in Washington, D.C. and Georgia, particularly in the run-up to those senatorial elections. So our intention is for Washington, D.C. and Georgia to be immediately and permanently free of all political and social justice, violent protest, and unrest. So I want you to hold that as you follow along with me with my instructions. And I've got a little music on this, and you'll see, as though you were in the auditorium, what it feels like to be connected. So let's imagine, as we're doing this, it's just 5 minutes, imagine you are holding hands of 8 other people on this call, on this webcast.
Okay, let's take a deep inhale and a deep exhale. And a deep inhale and a deep exhale. Deep inhale, deep exhale. Deep inhale, and now on the exhalation, send the intention through from your head, formulate the intention, Send it from your head to your heart, and then shoot it out to the recipient. Allow it to just unfurl from your heart like the tendrils of a plant. Recipients, just open up your hearts to receive. Allow the visualizations to come. Allow yourself to feel the unified energy in your group. Imagine you are all one single entity, one single powerful energy, sending healing energy to your recipient.
Okay, everybody, let go of the intention, trust the process, and in your own time, come back onto the webcast. Connect with the moment and the present. And in the next day or two, just note any changes in your life. Did anything happen as a result of participating? Did you feel anything different? Most of the participants write in that they feel a lot of bodily sensations. They feel a lot of changes in their mental state, emotional state. They feel like essentially they're in a mystical state. But also notice if anything has changed in your life. And that is our practice session for the Big Kahuna, which is going to be on January 17th. So note this down, please. If you would like to take part in this, remember you are part of the research. I have a scientist, Dr. Konstantin Korotkov, who is going to be measuring any changes. He's got specialized equipment. We'll be also looking at whether or not we affect the target. I'm not going to reveal the full target yet to you because I don't want you to be thinking about it ahead of time. But if you can write down this URL, it's quite a complicated one, but it's news.landing/heal-polarization-intention-experiment. And if that's too complicated, just come on to my website and sign up and you'll get information about it. We'll give you all the information about how to take part. But this one is going to be an extraordinarily powerful one because we're going to bring all the warring tribes together and let them connect together with the intention experiment and see what happens. So again, if you can, write down this URL, news.landing/heal-polarization-intention-experiment. It's also on the front page of the earthwalkunited.org page. So you can just click and you'll go straight onto my page to sign up and we'll give you more information there. And remember, afterward, we're taking your information so we can survey you to find out if your life has changed as a result. So I'll be sending you that survey after January 17th. Let us know if anything has changed in your life. And if that's all too complicated, it's just lynnmctaggert.com. lynnmctaggert.com. So I'm going to stop that share and just say, I hope that was a really great experience for you. It's been wonderful being with you. And I really look forward to seeing what happens when we bring all of these different parties together. We know, I know from the work that I've seen before, that even the greatest enemies can come together in peace.
Thank you so much, Lynn, for the incredible work you're doing, for coming onto our show this morning. And I'm noticing a lot of beautiful comments, and we definitely will continue to follow through with you. Thank you very, very much for blessing us with your presence.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful to be here, everybody. Thanks to everyone who's organized this.
Okay, take care. Sadiq, you're muted.
Thank you. Yeah, that invisible wall again. I just wanted to also offer a special thanks to Lynn as well. She knows this, that we've talked about this in the past, but the Middle East is actually where my days as a peace tender began. When I lived in the West Bank and saw the bloodshed and saw the strife that was there. And so I just want to say thank you again, Lynn, for the beautiful work that you're doing in that realm and all the other realms as you just shared. It touched my heart really deeply. And as I wrote into the thread as that was happening, I, deep tears and deep gratitude.
Beautiful. Oh, thank you. Sadiq, where are we going next?
Yeah, so now we're going to be bringing on some guests that are specifically related to this arena. So as mentioned, while we're not providing the specific focus of what the intention experiment will be focused on for January 17th, what we are sharing with our public is that for the next 12 moons, and yes, I said that 12 moons, not months. The word months comes, from the word moons. But starting January 12th, so 5 days before the global intention experiment, we're going to follow the cycles of the moons for 12 moons. Each moon cycle, we will be focusing on one of the 12 sectors of society. And so in conjunction with the intention experiment 5 days in, with Lynn McTaggert, focusing specifically on political polarization here in the United States, we are going to be dedicating the first moon cycle from January 12th to February 11th on the realm of governance and sovereignty. So we wanted to bring in a few others who are pillars in that realm, specifically who are anchors in the field of how do we tend to the different voices in the field, the polarity in the field. And again, like wanting to speak to the fact that oftentimes polarization gets a negative rap. It gets a bad tonation to it. But polarization in it of itself is not a bad thing. How we work with the polarization is what creates trauma or not. For an example, easy example, masculine, feminine, they hold different poles. They're like negative, positive, charge type scenario. And with that, magic can be created or deep trauma can be created. And why, for example, domestic violence can occur in such a deep and profound way, and why great love can occur in such a deep way. So again, not shaming polarization or polarity in and of itself, but asking the question how we work with it. So we wanted to bring on the producers and talk show hosts of Across the Aisle. It's a talk show that specifically is focused on how do we bring the different voices into the room to have the conversations. So this great divide that is currently happening here in the United States and in many other places in the world, in the realm of politics, in the realm of governance and sovereignty, that we may encircle that arena with love. So I want to bring in John Kenyon.
They're not here yet. They thought that you had them on the agenda for 11 o'clock. So they're not, I know Paul's not here. Now he's in my home, so I can go.
I have it at a mountain time. So I do see that John is in the room.
All right, I'll go grab Paul. He happens to live at my house, so.
Right, I see that. Yes, I do see it, John. Yeah, the schedule is all 11 Mountain, so I imagine they thought it was 11 Pacific. So John Kenyon, and then also Corey Tyler. I saw that he was in the room before. Corey, are you still with us? And John, are you able to join us at this moment? If not, that's okay. We can rearrange things. But I do see that John is in the room.
Paul will be jumping on in a moment. The advantage that he happens to be in my house.
Great, beautiful, beautiful.
You know, maybe what I think might be lovely, because again, you've got all these other people that are with us, like Wendy Silvers, and I'd love to hear from some of the other amazing people that are with us, what their experience was doing the experiment with Lynn, or the experience with Lynn. So I'm going to go to gallery view for a moment. And if any of you on gallery view would like to share your experience or share something, raise your hand and I'll spotlight you. Anybody want to share what came up for you? Okay, I see Russell. Thank you, Russell.
Also, just as a highlight, well, I'll write you a note, Scott.
Okay, great. Hey, Russell, what do you have to say, buddy?
I just want to keep fanning this beautiful fire, and this, the experiment, and I say experiment, and even as Lynn, said there's a practice round. I wholeheartedly honor that, but for me, there was no practice in there. Lynn, I humbly bow to the work. There was no practice. This was on, and powerful healing happened, and I just totally committed to it and dropped into it and really felt myself open up into this is going to be very poetic, but also being the steward of art and culture, I got a little poetic license. I really opened up to the heaven of my heart. I really felt a heavenly realm of just incredible coherence and peace. And I was literally thinking about angels and thinking about being together in peace. I just feel the coherence of the world coming together and being at peace. And all I was contemplating was heaven and the angelic realms and kingdoms, which is right here. Not so much out there, but just the heaven that is here within our hearts and how we are together. So it was profoundly impactful. When there were tears, and it started also, I resonate also with Sadiq, spending time in Israel and feeling the tension there, especially last time I was there with my dad. It took me about 3 days to decompress and relax into the thoughts I had going into Israel. Like, oh my God, it's not safe. It's not safe. Even though I've been there so many times, once I relaxed, I realized, like, wow, there is peace here. There is peace here, as there is peace everywhere in the world if we're willing to open to it, or as we're willing to open to it.
Thank you, Russell. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else? Wendy, I had a feeling, Wendy, you were going to have something wonderful to share. Welcome.
Thank you. It's such a joy to be here and to be in such beautiful company. I feel grateful to you, Sadiq and Scott, for your, what you're providing. And thank you. I'm just really moved. And what I was aware of is I've led other meditations and intention settings. So I just love what you're doing. Lynn, if you're still on the line, I can't see because I'm on my cell phone, but thank you so much. I will participate on January 17. And what really moved me was, I'm not sure if it was an Arabic or Israeli woman who stood up and said that peace is right where she is. And for me, that is the crux of it, is that people keep thinking that peace is outside of them. But when we do an exercise, an experiential exercise, such as we were led through, we get to reconnect with what is really inside of us. And then the shooting out, I loved the head, heart, and shooting out. And so being in that process just reminds me of what I feel like I've been holding and aware of in this entire event, is that the heart is the connector, it's the gateway, and we all meet in the heart. We're all connected, and I think of it as the womb of creation, and we're all womb mates. And I just am so honored to be present and to participate in setting up a force field that goes out globally through this event and through our work. I'm just grateful. Peace is right where I am, right where you are, right where we are.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you very, very much. Well, it looks like our across the aisle friends have joined us. Us, those of us that live in California, we're always used to Pacific time, and Sadiq puts it out as Mountain time. So, of course, 11 to him was 11 to, anyway, we had a thing going on there. So we are coming together. And so I want to introduce two people that have been running what happened was Sadiq was talking to me about some of his ideas. He said, we want to do a thing like across the aisle of bringing people together. I said, well, guess what? I've got two friends that have been doing an online show for months called Across the Aisle. And they've really done a wonderful job. So I want to introduce my roommate, Paul Sterling. I'm going to bring him on. And one of the foremost teachers of compassionate communication, also known as nonviolent communication, John Kenyon. Guys, I'm going to turn it over to you. Tell us a little bit about what you've been doing with Across the Aisle.
Great. I'll get started. And there's actually a third one of us here, Corey Tyler. Corey, if you could wave so people could see you there.
Got him.
There's actually four of us, but we're not all four on today. Katrina Valancourt is also one of the people. And so I'll give you a tiny bit about how this all started. I studied with Marshall Rosenberg. I ended up writing a best-selling book, Argue Less, Love More. I taught compassionate communication in prison for 8.5 years. And then I watched myself on Facebook, and I watched myself get, this is the embarrassing part, mean and petty, and write these one-liner comments to people, basically letting them know how bad, stupid, and wrong they were for their current political beliefs, and that they should believe like me. And much as I would never teach the couples I work with, I'd never teach anybody that, but I noticed I went there. And I said, oh, I need this for me as much as other people, because if we're going to heal this nation and heal the differences between us, this is something we need. And when I work with couples, I talk to them about not, if they're going through a divorce, not weaponizing the children and turning the children against each other or against the parents. And I've watched weaponizing in political campaigns, and I said, we need to have a healing instead. And so that's why I reached out to John Kenyon, and because John and I had been to Sweden together, studied with Marshall Rosenberg, and of all of the compassionate souls in the world, John is one of the guys I lean on. And we decided to include other people, and we brought in Corey. And the basic idea of it is, well, John, do you want to say a little bit more about it? You're muted.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, so Paul and I decided we would create this space for people to hear each other in the political realm. And from my insight was that for a while, that with the information being so confusing, what people believe is true, that that there is a way to have a conversation without getting hung up on what's factual and true. I do believe there are facts, just to be clear, but that often is a barrier when we can't agree on that. And the idea that we really can hear each other and understand even when we just completely disagree. It is possible, and it's a muscle, it's a skill that takes practice, but it's very doable, especially with that intention. And that Paul and I created this space where we invited people on and just started having a structure basically of how people could both express themselves and then listen, say back what they heard the other person say, even if they completely disagree. And really amazing things we've seen happen, just the amount of kind of heart opening and connection, and that once we kind of are understanding that way, we naturally, I've seen in calls like this, people dropping into kind of where we all share the same wants and needs and care about the same things and don't get so hung up on the different beliefs. And it's been really beautiful to watch just what happens there. So that's my little piece for the moment. Paul.
And maybe we could ask Corey to tell a tiny bit of the structure, how we frame this so that people have an idea and then they can take it away and use it in any way they want.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everyone. This is Corey Tyler from Los Angeles. I happen to see a cohort of mine, Wendy Silvers from Agape. We both hail from that the teachings of that beautiful spiritual center here in Los Angeles. And I am delighted to be in partnership with Paul and John. I too have been studying nonviolent communication for a number of years, and it's really helped me out as a parent. And during these calls, what I'm really delighted by is that we have a collection of people with various political views. And the overall structure of the call is we want to invite the sharing of what's true for someone, how they're feeling about something. So typically we'll ask them to state, what is one specific thing that you would like to be heard? And oftentimes that's very surprising for people, because it's the idea of, oh, wait a minute, is this a safe space to say how I feel about X, Y, or Z? So we encourage them to share what's up for them specifically about something, and then to express how they're feeling about what they shared, which is very eye-opening for people. Usually they're not asked, how are you feeling about something? It's usually from a contextual, here are the talking points, here's how I'm feeling, and everybody should feel this way. So what's beautiful about our process with Across the Aisle is that we invite people to share what's true for them authentically, then to dive deep underneath that and to ask them what's alive for them in terms of their emotions and their feelings and perhaps their values. And then another beautiful piece is, which is not often brought up, what would they like to see? And you've heard the quote in many different forms, oftentimes we're very clear on what we're against. I'm not really sure what I'm for. So in Across the Aisle, we get a chance to really ask people, what would you like to see play out? People end up feeling understood, valued, and heard, which are three parts of our triangle, one of the slides we show at the beginning of our connection. And we've had some really remarkable moments. I always learn something when I'm on the call, even though I'm facilitating. So that's just the long and short of it. And I'm so grateful to be in partnership, and hopefully extending the invitation for any of you who want to join us. And we'll be live this Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific for those of you who would like to join us.
The other thing that's come up for people is we give them a chance to do a role play where they can learn how to communicate with people they love. Like it could be a family member that, a Republican and a Democrat, or differences on immigration, or whatever the hot topic is, and they learn how to communicate with it in a way that brings them closer together rather than pushing them apart, because that's what we need right now. We need to learn how to get along. So, and John, do you want to say how they can find out information on that? Thank you, Russell.
Yeah, sure. On my events page on my website, johnkenyon.com/events is where you can find out information there. We have a Facebook event page that you can find on off of my Facebook page. But yeah, those are two places that we have it listed, and easy to click on the link and register to have the Zoom link and come and show up. So some people watch on Facebook Live and just participate that way. And, but we really love it when people come onto the Zoom space with us, and not everybody interacts. Some choose to, some just are just sort of there. But yeah, it's easy to just pop on and be with us and see if you get moved to want to participate. It tends to be really more sort of surprisingly heart-opening, almost, that and not as scary as some people might think to do the process.
And it's the last thing I'll close.
Else, Paul?
They have questions for us, but it's really, I didn't realize how terrified some people are on expressing their opinions. I've always been, I grew up in a family where we started expressing our opinions really early, and that was embraced. But how socially isolating it can be to be a Democrat in a group of Republicans, or a Republican in a group of Democrats, like how lonely and painful it can be. And so this is you know, I want to be a example so politicians can learn how to go across the aisle again, and that we deal with the issues, not the party. So thank you, Sadiq, for putting this all on, and Scott for hosting it, and John and Corey and Katrina, who's not here, for being our partners in making a difference in the world.
I have a thought I'd like to share, and then a question to ask all of you guys. You know, the thought is, as we've all studied with Marshall, I had the good fortune to spend a lot of time with Marshall before he passed. We all have this strong value for inclusion. It's one of the greatest core values, core needs. And so often people align themselves with a religion or a political party or a belief system because it meets their need for inclusion. They find other people that agree with that. And then it's like, yeah, you know, we're right and the other ones are wrong. And sadly, it's human nature that we all want to believe that we're a little bit closer to the truth. We're God's chosen people. We're the ones that are right. We are the ones that are righteous. And it's so deeply embedded in our human DNA to think that way. So I just want to establish that that's a challenge of the old paradigm that we've been living in for a very, very long time. So how do you support people who have a very strongly embedded attachment to their belief system, their political party, based on their need for inclusion, feeling like that's their tribe, that's their gang? How do you help them to transition into a more expansive way of thinking?
Okay, I'll dive into that first. I spent years as a corporate trainer, and I traveled around the world team building. And there are two ways to create team, two main ways to create team. One is to have a common enemy, and that's the easier one. And you can see that in a lot of politics. It's us against them, and there's a clear them. And so they're the enemy, and it's easy to do that. The other way is to create a big vision and bring people together under the vision. So if you look at Kennedy, if you look at King, if you look at Mahatma Gandhi or Nelson Mandela, they united people under a vision versus an enemy. And so it's like finding, whether it's whatever political view it is finding what's the vision under their strategy, because picking a party is a strategy. And it's finding the beautiful vision under the strategy. What do they want? Do they want peace? Do they want security? Do they want safety? You know, what is it that they want? And helping embrace that and not fight against it and give them a healthier strategy. The reason I did the prison project, and I worked in prison for 8.5 years, is I have a basic belief that people are doing the best they can with the tools they have. And until we give them better tools, they're not going to behave better. If we give them a hammer and a rock, they'll probably pick the hammer, not the rock, for driving nails. So that's my basic idea. So John, I see you're unmuted. But
yeah, and I don't know if my internet connection sound okay?
You're doing good, at least to me.
Is it all right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
You're a little bit
On my side, it's a little.
You're tad choppy, but we're hearing you okay.
Okay, great. Yeah, so to respond to your question, Scott, being able to just have people feel understood for their really strong beliefs, I think goes a long way, just to help that soften a little bit, that sense of resistance. So something Marshall Rosenberg would often say, empathy before education. So before wanting to share something else with somebody, just that being heard, I think, just so much softens. But then what we do in our Across the Aisle is we really encourage people to make that shift from focused on their beliefs to how they feel in their bodies. And it's really quite amazing as we kind of coach people to do that, they're having a little bit of a hard time, is just the stopping, just that pause, and the kind of looking inside. Oh yeah, what am I feeling? Like it's a big shift to actually drop kind of down into the body and like search for what is there, and then helping people connect that to what they want. And for me to go, not only what do we want personally, what do I need, or what are our personal needs, but then to expand out to what do we all need? What do we all want as human beings all over the planet, everywhere on the planet? And there's something about that I my hope is that identification with the larger tribe, the tribe of humanity, and even the family of life on the planet, that through this language of our needs, the needs that we all share in common, and how our feelings and our bodies connect us to that universal place, that allows that kind of broadening of identification, a larger self, if you will. So that's how I think of it.
Hey, Scott, can Dad join in?
This is my father, Bruce Greenberg.
But I wasn't speaking to you. I was speaking to Scott.
Perfect.
Well, Sadiq is my brother from another mother, so we're all family here.
I just joined in, and I'm enjoying the conversation. But I'll say to your two speakers, if you think about the generation before me, or two generations before me, of the Jews, the Italians, the Irish that came through Ellis Island. So you have a generational thing here. How do I change parties that my parents and grandparents started in?
Yeah, great question. I'd like to speak to that. This is Corey Tyler. So I'm hearing that, how do you contend with the fact that there are generations of belief systems and coagulated ways of seeing the world? How do we contend with that when it's baked in? One of the things that I've experienced in our Across the Aisle that we do is, and Scott, you kind of prefaced this a little bit. For me, the need for inclusion and understanding is really met. One of the things that we do is we ask the participants, do you feel heard? And so I recognize that there can be moments where we're like, well, wait a minute, but my father and my father's father believed X, Y, and Z. And it's this idea of having empathy, of just acknowledging that. So for me, there's a light bulb moment with just acknowledging the legacy of a particular way of looking at something, not necessarily to change it, but just to acknowledge that it has been operating. So first with acknowledgement and some empathy and maybe some understanding for, wow, yeah, my father and my father's father thought this way. And this is the way we survived. This is the way that they saw the world. And I feel like I even want to take that on because in honor of my family. So there can be a sense of legacy and honor around that as well. So for me, empathy is not agreement. If I were to come across someone who were to say to me, yeah, my grandfather and my father were white supremacists, I would say to them, okay, how does it feel to acknowledge that? For it to be said, to be acknowledged, and just for some empathy for that person who's maybe feeling torn, third generation, saying, and I'm in the middle because I want to honor my family name. And at the same time, that doesn't strike me as something that lends itself to compassion and understanding. So for me, it's a practice of acknowledgement and empathy. Some beautiful, beautiful ways to approach things. And once again, for me, it's not about agreement. I may not agree with the guy, but my willingness to hold a compassionate space and understanding goes a long way.
Yes, really appreciating so much what all three of you had to say in response to my question. It's really beautiful. And just want to riff again, remember that we don't have to agree in order to understand. We can drop into another person's world. Why do they think that way? Why do they believe that? And just acknowledge that is where they are. That's their belief. And we all have a right to our own beliefs, right? It's part of our sovereign privilege. I want to speak to, again, kind of make a thought, and then I'd love to get your feedback on this. When we choose as human beings to mature into examining our beliefs, we enter a time of an existential crisis. Because when we begin to see that something we believed, something we cherished and held as true isn't necessarily true, it's very confusing and it's truly an existential crisis. I'll give an example, which I think probably a lot of us can relate to. I grew up believing America was the good guys. We came into World War II and there were the evil Nazis and we were the good guys and we liberated Europe, and I grew up believing that. And as I've matured and learned more about American policies, I've gone through the existential crisis of, oh my God, my government is responsible for some really, really horrible things. Most of us probably grew up with a particular religion and then hit some level of disillusionment around that religion. It seems to be pretty common. And so this is where the empathy comes in, of having empathy for ourselves, empathy for others, because it's painful to have to confront the possibility that things we believed aren't necessarily true. You mean there isn't a Santa Claus? You mean there isn't an Easter Bunny, right? I mean, it starts as children and continues as adults. And so I want to ask each of you maybe to share how you've managed your own shifting your belief systems, or any tools for helping people when they're in that crisis period of realizing that maybe what they believed all this time wasn't exactly the full picture or the full truth.
Well, I like, Scott, that you ask simple questions that have easy answers.
Hey, it's because I respect all of you guys. So, I'm bringing out the tougher problems.
The first part of healing is being heard. And what I want to do is, and I'm looking at, I wish I had to draw this visual. I'm going to do the visual. So draw a triangle, and on one side is collapsed, on the other side is combative, and on the top is courageous. So what happens when we get triggered, we either collapse and shut down, or we get combative, and this is the trauma drama line, or we get courageous and compassionate. And so what I want to do is be with people because my pattern growing up, I got beaten by my older brother until I collapsed. So I want to be with people when they get triggered, because what you're talking about is when we get our beliefs challenged at a core level, we get triggered. So either we can go to collapse, or we can go to hell, you suck. We can go to combative, or we can be courageous and be with that discomfort. And it's like, and how do we be with someone when they're going through their discomfort and not like go, you're wrong, you're like, see how stupid your beliefs were, but like, wow, that must really be uncomfortable for you or hard to look at. Like Corey was talking about your family lineage. Maybe your family was white supremacists or whatever it was. It's like, that's hard on our core to even look at that. So how can I be compassionate with myself, and how can I be compassionate with others and create a safe space for them to lean into? Like in our call, there's never a place where we're trying to convince somebody that their beliefs are wrong. And they can come to it under their own like discovery. And if they're trying to protect themselves, they're going to hold tighter to their beliefs. The more that we try to prove that they're wrong, the tighter they're going to hold. And if we create an opening, they can lean in, and it's a safe space for them to explore that really scary territory. So I'm going to bounce to John to see what his wisdom is.
Well, as we're talking about this, I was thinking of practices with uncertainty, and I think of people like Pema Chodron, and of course it goes back further. There's a kind of wisdom, a perennial wisdom of being with the unknown, the insecure, the uncertain. But I've been focused on that more recently, particularly, and it's quite a practice to be willing to hang out in that space of like, not it's and actually a lot of us are there now with like so much misinformation or different strands of information floating around, and that's questioning some of our most basic beliefs, are kind of across the aisle, really. And then to be practicing the anxiety, the fear, of the natural fear of that unknown, and just there's something, I think it's quite comforting and reassuring almost, that it's natural to feel really scared and frightened when we are uncertain, and we crave certainty, and yet life is not certain, as we all know. Anything could happen at any moment, and a lot of times we go along as if that's not true, but then we get reminded of it periodically and we freak out. And so I think just the more of the practice as the world, I think, intensifies, not only with the politics, but the environmental issues we're facing, all this, the huge crises and challenges, right? There's just a lot of sitting with uncertainty, and it's a practice to do that and to be able to hold our beliefs a little more lightly. But that doesn't mean that things aren't true to me. It just means, can I hold it with less certainty and be more like, can I, be aware of my confirmation biases and be more looking at, how do I just, stay less rigid in with the beliefs, and more, as we talked about earlier, connected to our bodies, our feelings, our emotions, our needs and wants. And that can be so anchoring and grounding, to shift from I've got to have certainty up here in my mind to the body and the sort of larger kind of sense of beingness, and to sort of just find some security in that instead of in our beliefs. So those are some things I've been practicing more myself lately.
Oh, thank you, John. Coming, really moving from our head to our heart. So we've had a lot of masculine energy, a lot of men talking, and I'd love to hear from a wise woman as well. I also want to acknowledge everybody who's been writing in the chat box, both on our Facebook page and here in the Zoom room. Really appreciating everybody's comments. Thank you. Wendy, what would you like to share?
Well, first, I'm so grateful. Thank you, Paul and John and Corey. Corey and I know each other from Agape. And I think this topic is so vital. I myself went through over 180 hours of training to be a trauma-informed nonviolent parenting educator, and Marshall Rosenberg and his material was an integral part of it. And I'm currently taking a course with Thomas Hubel. And one of the most challenging experiences that I have had is the past 5.5, 6 years I've been engaged in, I call it sacred activism, because I bring all of the nonviolent, or I attempt to bring the nonviolent principles and practices plus my spiritual training into this arena that I got into because of its nonviolent nature. And one of the biggest challenges that I have experienced is that in private, elected officials will say certain things, but when they vote, their vote is not the same. It's not in alignment. And that many times using nonviolent communication, checking to see what the unmet need is for them, attempting to connect with empathy and compassion, using conflict as a way to have connection, and also something that, across the aisle, I literally said that to an elected official, a very high elected official, when I asked if we could have a picture together. And I talked about us needing to come together. But what's been so heart-wrenching and heartbreaking is I don't see that openness or receptivity to engage in in this kind of a way. So I would love to know, I'm going to go on I want to follow you and listen to what you're saying. But I would love to know, how do you deal with that? Because I have felt many times just brought to my knees, which as a prayer practitioner, that's not a bad place, but as a mom and as somebody who is so devoted to the well-being of children and parents and sovereignty, it's just been incredibly heartbreaking.
Whew. Let's all just take a moment to feel that, right? And thank you for bringing into the discussion parenting and sharing with children and helping, to guide our children. So thank you for that. And it is heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking. But as Remy taught us, a heartbreak is not a bad thing. A heartbreak is breaking us open so that we can love even more deeply, so that we can be even more present to what is. I always love to remind people that Prince Siddhartha became enlightened and became the Buddha of compassion when he accepted there is suffering. There is suffering in our world. And we live in this culture that's very, if you're not happy, there's something wrong with you, right? That coins phrases like negative emotions and bad feelings. There are no negative emotions or bad feelings. There's uncomfortable feelings. And so again, that's where John has been and Paul have been leading us into empathy, the power of empathy and being present to our discomfort.
Beautiful. I wanted to just welcome all of you onto the screen really quickly and say thank you, a deep bow for your beautiful work. I thank you so deeply, Scott, for introducing. I've known Paul now for about a decade plus, but it's beautiful to be reunited into this space. I love what you're doing. And I wanted to say that from over here, the experience that I'm having is that what you're doing is a perfect example of what we've been talking about over at Earthwalk as a we three process. So we talked about the Me Three movement going from Me Too to Me Three, but this is where you're encircling a collective trauma with love for all 3 points on the trauma triangle. And as you were talking about, Paul, moving from whether it was collapse or combative to courageous, and to be in that space where we're willing and able to hold loving space for all 3 points on the trauma triangle in the realm here of governance and sovereignty, of politics, and holding a space where all the voices can be heard, where they can all be loved and brought in, and where there are tension points where that can be massaged. And I just want to say, I love that. And I just want to throw it out into the ethers that, as we go into our first moon cycle through the 12 realms, that and the first cycle will be in the realm of governance and sovereignty, that maybe we bring you back on and go a bit deeper into all this, because I'm loving what you're doing. The way that you're bringing this perspective into politics, I think is the medicine, and I want more.
Thank you. I think we'd love that. My closing thought is, and Scott touched on this, there's 3 places we communicate from: our head, our heart, or our hurt. And it's easy to get in a battle of the head, like John had brought up, of the facts. But when we get into our heart, that's where we find connection. So we're either listening from our head, our heart, or our hurt, and we're speaking from those places. So that's why I love this conversation. And I'd gladly come back. I think John and Corey probably would, and maybe we can even get Katrina with us. Thank you for the work you do. And thank you, Scott, for being steward of love and connection on the planet.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, my pleasure. Thank you, guys. Sadiq, where are we going next?
Yeah, so before we're going to transition over to a beautiful ritual and ceremony led by Deirdre Hay. But before we go there, I want to kind of give a bit of a context, taking what was just shared by Paul, by John, and I'm blanking a bit.
Corey.
Corey. I don't see Corey's name, so I was looking. Wanted to give the context of how this can then be applied into the different realms. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly so you can all see sort of the background, if you will, of what we're envisioning, like with this movement. So as shared, all this, the Whole Person Convergence, the Me3 movement, We3, it's all being brought forth with Earthwalk and many of our different global partners. And as mentioned, the place that we were beginning and the reason we chose to begin in this place is because, as mentioned last Sunday when we were on the show with Scott, that if we can go into that place of deepest hurt, of the most intimate realm of sexuality, relationship, and intimacy, and we can go there and we can encircle that trauma with love for all parties involved, for the 3 points of the trauma triangle, we believe that we can take that same energy and we can bring it anywhere. We can bring it into all the 12 sectors of society. So for example, I'm going to try to make this bigger so you can all see. But with those as the 12 sectors, so what we can start doing, we can bring it into our personal relationships. And as across the gentleman from across the aisle just mentioned, we can bring it into politics. But guess what? We can also bring it into every single sector of society. We can bring it into environment, into the arts, into science, justice, health, spirituality, resources, relationship, all of it. We can bring these sacred conversations into all the different realms. And then we can even bring these sacred conversations in constellations between the different realms. Maybe there's a challenge between spirituality and science. That was a major conflict that was talked about this last week. Or maybe there's a big challenge between economics and art, or governance and health and wellness. So we could really go in, but with eyes of love, so that as we dive into the trauma, into the points of pain that are there, we can truly encircle it with love for all parties involved. So that is where we sort of began, is with the Me3 movement, the concept that if we can do that, then we can bring it into all the other realms. And just on the high level point, just want to kind of move forward here. That's sort of like where it comes to then bringing it into the 12 sectors of society. And just really quickly, just showing you like the different slides that basically this whole energy is like, how do we bring a loving attention, a loving focus into the world to, in essence, do two things: to help create loving justice systems on the planet. So basically loving systems that figure out what is just in this realm. And then also to just in general, to bring it into our vernacular. How do we have loving conversations with what's in front of us? And that's the short essence. So I just want to kind of share that. And this is like our basic cosmology, like moving, as you can see from on the left here, moving from the Me Too energy, We Too energy, which was a great place to start, of like bringing the energy up, empowering the voices of those who feel traumatized and victimized. But let's move it beyond stopping there, and let's move it into a place where we're encircling a trauma with love for all parties involved. So go ahead and stop with that. And what we're now going to do is we're going to invite Deirdre in, and we're going to do a meditation where we're going to be focused on circling the different collective traumas of the world with love. And with that, I'd like to welcome our dear Deirdre. You with us? I think you're on. I think you're muted.
Of course. the mute button. Hello, Sadiq. Thank you so much, and thank you. It's just really an honor to be here with everyone, and thank you. Just an honor to be with all of the really wonderful wisdom keepers. I really got so much out of what you were saying, Paul and John and Corey, about what you're doing, reaching across the aisle. This is just a vision I've had for years of this kind of, really working with people with healing, creating groups and safe places. We were just talking about that in our group yesterday in our roundtable with media, right? How can media help? So it was to hear that you're doing this is really, really exciting. And of course, I loved our session with Lynn McTaggert. I've known Lynn for years. She's a wonderful friend, and her work is so powerful. So today, Sadiq asked me to create a ceremony or a radiance journey around all of this work that we have been doing over these days to bring our intention, our prayer into focus for healing. So I want to just say a few words about prayer. With Lynn's The Intention Experiment, that is prayer. The word is intention, which is great because it's secular. We don't have to bump up into, well, I don't pray. Anyone, we can break through anyone. That's the genius of it. But in Hebrew, the word kavanah means intention, to yoke to tether with incredible focus. So intention and prayer is focused intention. And what we're going to do today is a system that was given to me about 20 years ago from the divine realms, the archangels, ascended masters, and they showed me these different modalities of our internal light structure. These are the inner mansions Saint Teresa talked about, of the inner light, which is our soul. And what I was shown is that when we consciously tether to this inner light and then said our prayer, our prayer becomes a super prayer. It becomes a powerful embodiment of prayer because we have opened the internal gateways into our tree of life. Now, the tree of life goes all the way back to Samaria. It's not very well known in the West, but the tree of life is the complete chakra system, and it is the system of the universe within. All of the universes, since the beginning of time, the multidimensional realities are all inside of us, and this is what the tree of life is. So this is what we'll be doing for the next 15 minutes or so. We will be traveling into our tree of life, accessing our light, and then merging our light with the global consciousness of these 12 modalities and blessing each one with our intention to heal. So that these modalities, let's say we've got science and technology, government and sovereignty, that these two can heal each other, that we can bring this mandala of the different systems of who we are into the oneness, into the wholeness of all that is. So thank you for inviting me here to take us through this journey, and we will begin. So make yourself comfortable and just close your eyes. And I'm going to ask you just to take a deep breath and a nice sigh. And we've been sitting here for a while, so I want you to move your shoulders around and your head. And if you're at home, stand up, dance around, just kind of shake everything out, get some movement going. The body loves to move, right? The body loves to move. Move your hips. Take another deep breath. Let it out. That's it. There you go. Let that energy start to move. Our energy kind of gets stuck when we're sitting. Very good. And now rub your head. Just rub the top of your head. Just a little head massage. We're going to get all the nadis activated. You wonder, okay, why am I doing this with my fingers? Because your fingers are light beams. We have incredible energy coming from our hands and fingers. So you can use your hands and fingers. Those of you who do tapping know all about that. Really on your body to help your body, open your body up to the energy we're about to move through ourselves. Okay, very good. So let's close our eyes now. And be very comfortable. You don't have to sit straight. You can lay down if you want to. However the body feels good. We want the body to be comfortable. And as we look inside, we're just going to begin by watching our breath. And as we watch our breath, becoming aware of this point where our forehead and the top of our head meet. And if you want to just open your eyes and look at my hands, you can. I'm going to go right here. Here we are. And then I want you to imagine right here at this point that there's a mini me, a little you, just sitting up there, observing your world, observing life. This is your silent watcher, the higher self of your silent watcher. And I want you to imagine that, close your eyes again, and you're just looking at your room from this location, from the eye of your higher self, your silent watcher. And as you look from this location, we're now moving into the interdimension and working with the energetic fields of your consciousness, of our consciousness, of our light body. And from the silent watcher, I want you now just to imagine that you're going to circle this eye around the room and take in the room from the eye of the silent watcher. What does this room look like? And then circle back the other way. Really noticing, focusing on your room. You might even see outside of your room. For the all-seeing, the silent watcher is our remote viewing eye. Very good. And now we come back to the silent watcher, and I want you to look down on your body. And as you look on your body, I want you to find any area that feels that there's tension or pain. Any area of tension or pain. This is going to be very important for our journey today. I'll explain in a little bit. So once you find this area of tension, I want you just to observe this. Now, the silent watcher is the neutral observing mind. No judgment, no belief, not even a feeling. This is a kind of love. This is a creative love that is pure thought, just observing. And as you observe this tension, what happens to it? You're just watching it, just allowing it, and see what happens to this tension in your body. Is it letting go? Is it starting to relax? What are you feeling inside of your body? Very good. Now I want you to bring your mind back to our silent watcher. There it is, right above, right at our forehead. As we watch the breath, we look within, and there in your belly, in our belly, just below our navel, is a golden light, a shining sun. And with every breath, the living breath drops in. And this beautiful golden light gently expands and then gently relaxes and then gently expands. So that with every breath, this golden light becomes larger and larger. This is the golden light of the Shekinah, of the Shakti, the light which comes from Mother Earth, the healing light. And with every breath, allow this golden light to expand, to fill your organs with golden light, healing your organs, filling your lungs with golden light, your heart, softening the heart in golden light, your shoulders, your arms, your legs down to your feet, up into your brain until your whole body is completely gold. And this golden light then expands outwards, shining from you until you are a radiant sun. And you are within the golden cosmic egg. This is your soul. And to allow this golden light to dance through you. This is the power for our prayers. As we call the white light from the silent watcher, I want you to see there floating above your head, above your crown chakra, a white orb of light. Keter, truth, which is connected to the Ein Sof, the I am presence. And we imagine now that the crown of our head is opening, and this white light of truth, absolute truth, is pouring down into you in a column of white light, pouring down through your brain, your throat, your heart, your organs, all the way down to the feet, connecting into Mother Earth. This is the central pillar of your soul, the core value and the virtue of who you are as a light being. As with a deep breath, now allow this white light to completely fill you, to wash over you, to wash from you any toxic energy, energy of separation, any hurt. And now I want you to scan your body. Scan that place where it was tense, any other place of pain, and allow this white light to move through your body and wash it away until you see there from your feet are wisps of smoke. These are just energies of non-knowingness. There's no judgment, it's just non-knowingness. The pain, the trauma, the unmet heart needs, and we let them float away in a magical river of the sacred garden. As we bring our mind now into our heart, and there in our heart, we see the 1,000-petal lotus flower, this beautiful flower of our heart energy. And here in our heart is the threefold flame of our golden light of the Divine Mother, Father, the white light, and then the central pillar light, the light of our core value and virtue. As we call together now and connect across time and space in our intention, holding hands, connecting in with Lynn and her intention experiment, connecting in with our whole person convergence. We take our light, our prayer, and we now begin to shine it into the 12 realms of healing to heal the trauma of pure, with this pure grace, allowing grace to fill the traumas in the collective consciousness of our human reality. As we listen to the crystal healing bowl of Saint Germain, connecting into the higher frequencies of light. We send our light to relations and peace building to heal all trauma, to justice and protection, to heal the hearts of the police, to heal the hearts of the victims, to bring justice, equality. We send our light in prayer to all communications and media to share healing love and to cease needing to share fear. We send our light to economics and business, that all are prosperous, all hold in abundance. We send our healing to health and wellness, that all sentient beings are healthy and well and receive proper medical care. Science and technology, that science is tethered to the spirit for goodness of all mankind. Governance and sovereignty, that governance is truly for the people and by the people, and that we live as a sovereign nation of individuals collectively hold together, helping one another. We send our prayers into spirituality and religion to heal all those persecuted by religion which has gone astray. And we pray for religion to return to the core value of its light. We send our light to the arts and culture, to all art, that all people find the artist within and begin to create the culture of humanity as one. We send our light into learning and education, to uplift education, to educate the soul, to teach how to come together and love one another. We send our light to the environment, to heal Mother Earth, to have good food for all people, to heal the water and to have clean energy, and to provide a safe environment for everyone to live, including the animals and the trees and the plants and the waters and the air. We send our healing energy to the infrastructure and resources, that we have a strong world where we can travel together. Our cities, our civilizations are created for the human within us, that our homes are safe, that we are safe, and that we know what freedom means. And we say, it is done now. And we send our light into the world, connecting with the grace of all that is. I am that I am. As we send this light, our collective light of our soul, into our world. Beautiful. Now notice, thank you, my crystal ball. Now notice, how do you feel? How are you feeling right now? I'm feeling like tingles all through my whole body. There's so much energy moving. We have opened up so many gates to bring this healing, your healing, your intention as a light worker into our world. So thank you so much. God bless you, and thank you for having me here today, my brothers and sisters. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. I wrote that in the message as you were sharing and you were going through all the different realms and inviting the healing very specifically and intentionally into the realms of the human body and into the social body, into the realms of the human body. And I love it. I appreciate you. Thank you. And, may we, you and I, we've talked about this a bit, like, may we continue to create the great vessels of healing, such as that, to start bringing and encircling these spaces that so desperately need our love and attention. And
thank you. Thank you. Beautiful. And your beautiful, beautiful work. What you've created here is so powerful. As I was saying to you, you've tapped into the divine consciousness of the ascended masters who are working with us, all of us, to bring heaven on earth. That was the original plan. And we just, you know how it is. You take a journey. Sometimes you go on you take a detour because you're curious. It says in the ancient texts that God made man simple, and then man discovered intrigue. So we're curious, and we want to know, we want to experience it all. And then, like children, sometimes we go, whoops, I got myself in trouble. That's where we are. Whoops. So now we have to backtrack. Where's mama? Hey, mom.
Isn't it that simple though? Like, if we could actually hold it in that way of just being like, whoops, like we act like whoops, like as a whole humanity, like whoops, like we right, right, yeah, like because I'm just to kind of end with this, but like part of what brought me, so I was very involved in the global peace activism movement, starting like as young as like 19 years old, and got deeply involved. And then I got disillusioned, if you will, because when I was in that space, I saw so much anger and so much and beautiful. Anger is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to work with, but in the right ways, shall I say, like in a transmutational way, or an agenda movement. And I didn't actually see the level of compassion of like, yes, there are all these issues, but can we stay in that place of like, oops, like we messed up? Like, how do we look? I love the image for myself of imagining we're all kids playing in a playground. And like when one of us like, whoops, makes a mistake, I do my best to try to be like, to see them as that kid, like in the sandbox and just playing. And
you know what, and I love that. And what I love about the going into the mansions of light that the ascended beings shared with me to share with everybody is that we just kind of part the waters of that anger when we just focus on the light. I've been studying for like 40 years the ancient texts of the Kabbalah, the Vedas, early Christian work, even the work in the Taoist. And the one thing I find is the same, there's a message underlying all these ancient mystical texts, and that is focus on the light. Over and over, if you meditate on the light. And so the light is what brings us into that It just cuts away the voice of everything. It's just pure energy, pure love. And so I always open with connecting us into the light, because what it does, Sadiq, is it clears away. And I've seen this with thousands and thousands of people I've worked with around the world. It just clears away the klipot. The klipot in Hebrew, it's the husk. So the angers are husk that our trauma is struggling with. We're all struggling with our own trauma. So even when we're doing activism, we're still struggling with our own trauma. So we must now, that's why I just founded the Global Divine Leadership Institute, and I want to invite everyone who wants to come be a part. We're just launching in February to bring the spirituality of who we are, the union of spirituality, of how to be and how to work as an activist, by also healing within, because we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. So we can't change, we can't clean up the room if our internal room is still a mess. We just go in and we just move the dirt around, right? We want to end war. It's just the war was in this country. Oh, it's over. Yay. Oh no, there's a war in that country. The war just keeps changing, right? So we come within and we do our internal work of scrubbing ourselves with the light, the klipot, the anger falls away. And then we can do the monumental and important work of it. As Rabbi Joshua Herschel said, as he was crossing the bridge next to Dr. Martin Luther King, someone said to him, "How was that in Selma?" This was a paradigm shift. They didn't use that word back then, but I'm using it. He said, "I felt like my legs were my prayers. My legs were my prayers." And that's what it's going to take from all of us. We have work to do, but our legs are our prayers, and we can do it. I see the light. I have hope, and we are doing it. We're doing it right here. You're doing it. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing in Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. He was always he was a mentor of mine. He went like in spirit.
Yeah.
Clarified. He and I went to the same school. We both went to the Jewish Theological Seminary, and that quote is one of my favorites. As I walked, beside Martin Luther King, I felt as if my legs were I felt as if my legs were praying. I think I'm trying to remember the details, but same, and like, I agree. Like for me, like this work, like right now, like us having this holy conversation, from my perspective, it is a prayer. Like we're praying in, like as Lynn talked about, what are the sacred intentions? Those secular intentions. What are the intentions that we're wanting to seed into the world? And I love it. And a few quick things. One, would love to hear more about what you're launching in February. That sounds amazing. And see if there's a way that we can support you through Earth Walk. And the thought that was coming to my mind, I don't know if you know this, but I teach the alchemy of the Hebrew language.
Oh.
And so when you're talking about like klipot and like klipa would be like the singular version of it. One of the things that you were talking about as far as the husk and what is inside, all of Hebrew breaks down into fun alchemical, and all languages do. And if you break down klipa into two parts, it's kal peh, which means a soft voice, if you will, soft like speaking. And so once we remove the husk and we're able to look at that trauma, a deep, beautiful voice arises. We're given a gift.
That's beautiful. Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
So beautiful. And I want to know more about your work with the language. I love, the wonderful thing about the ancient languages, the ancient Hebrew and Sanskrit, which are very similar, by the way, they're sister language, they're root languages, meaning the other languages came out of these Aramaic languages, is that we get close to the source of light, of the let there be light, right? And that's why the Sanskrit prayers and mantras and these prayers, these words, they have a deep resonance in our soul. They strike us in our soul. It's like our bones know these vibrations. So that's why I use them. I kind of sneak them in because our bones know these vibrations, and they're the root, really, of all language. So I can't wait to learn more about that and what you're doing with all that. I want to study with you. I want to know more.
I look forward to that. Yeah. And the last thing I want to say before we transition, we're going to bring on Noah Crow. He is a poet and like synthesizing storyteller. So the one last thing that I wanted to speak to in response to what you had shared, Deirdre, is about like the light and our relationship to the light. And when Earthwalk first started, our tagline was ignite your passions, transform the earth. And, we related that as far as like, we have earth and then walk. Like walk is about your personal journey and earth is our collective like interdependence, right? And that we felt that the two were inextricably linked and that our mission statement as an organization is we invite people, our mission is to unite humanity within a diverse global culture of peace first, by igniting people's passions as a cornerstone to a pathway to peace. So we believe that if we help you get in touch with your light, like your purpose, your mission, then the sovereignty that will get established as a result of your getting in touch with your soul signature, like the light that uniquely shines through you, that the journey forward will be that much easier. And so I just wanted to like kind of throw that in and such that like this sacred relationship to the lights, to the fire. And then also to know that light, fire, also needs to be tended to and cared for because it can go out if not, or it can burn people if it's not tended to in a great sacred way. And I think part of why some people push away sometimes from people who aren't tending to their light well, and kind of bringing it all over the place and not in a way that's like really honoring the fierceness of our light.
Well, this is beautiful, and what you just said, the fierceness of our light. That's a powerful, powerful statement. Going back to that second initiation, because these were initiations we did, of the pillar of light through the center of our body. This is also called the sword of light or the staff of light. And within it, I want to encourage all of you, you can call upon this and go within and ask this sword of light what your core purpose is, the core purpose of your soul. That's an exercise I would do in a retreat. But just ask yourself, what is my core purpose? Because it's in there. And that's why your purpose is aligned to power. Like that's your power. And we feel disempowered because we're not on purpose and we know it. And we go, I can't find it. I can't feel it. I don't get it. Somebody else has it. How come they have it? I don't have it. Because that sort of light, that tube of light that comes into our soul from the direct I am that I am, is the purpose that we were incarnated for. You were incarnated, you have a purpose, a core value, and it's a virtue. It's one of the virtues of the universe. The universe is built on virtue. That's architecture, order, harmony. It's a virtue. So this virtue is within you waiting to be discovered if you haven't discovered it. And I'd like to say, the only difference between me sitting here or Zadik or any of these amazing speakers and anyone else sitting out in your room is we maybe discovered our core virtue and maybe you haven't found it yet. That's all it is. And the only reason we're here is to ignite you to find your core virtue And then you have your fierce power. Now, the interesting thing about having fierce power, having that light, is now you have a responsibility. You have responsibility because once you have power, you can hurt people even more. But you can also create even more because that power is the creative power of the divine creative force, the divine, the Shiva Shakti, you know, the Avraham Sarah. It is the force, right? It is the force. And when you have the force, you have your power, and it's a love. And we have to grow up. Getting back to what I said when we first started, that we have to grow up now. We have to be mature humans and take our swords of light to create goodness, health, happiness throughout the world. So yay, everybody. We're doing it.
I love everything that you're saying. I love, you know, like, and I want to just sort of end with like that piece that you're speaking to with like how do we manage, how do we hold our sacred fire, our power? How do we do that? Because a lot of people, I believe, sort of victimize or villainize power, and suggest, you know, like we've all heard this, power corrupts and all. I don't believe power corrupts. I believe that just as you shared with power, the more in touch with who we are, right? Because that's how I believe we acquire power. The more in touch with who we are, with love, I believe, ultimately, the more we're in touch with that power, the more power is at our disposal. And so we then, as you should, have the capacity for much more harm and much more good. And how do we teach our fire tenders, if you will, right? Our human, like in one of the words for man and woman in the Hebrew Bible is ish and isha, and they literally mean fire tenders. Like esh is fire, and ish is the tender of a fire, if you will, and isha is the feminine tender. And so, you know, how do we teach human beings to tend our power, to tend our fire, our love well?
Well, I think it really comes down to being able to first access a word that everybody has many different words, but it's the silent watcher, the observer, and we watch ourselves so that, you see, when the ego has hold of the sword of light, we get in trouble, right? But when your consciousness has hold of the sword of light, we create wonder. We create miracles. It's in what we can do, especially mobilized, is phenomenal. Like we haven't even touched on what we can do when we're mobilized, when we have surrendered our ego and moved into the we, as you were saying, the we, the three coming together, the two becoming one. When we do that and we carry out that sword of our empowerment from that place within us, it's phenomenal what we can create. We can do it. All we have to do is do it. Just do it. That's all you have to do. Just drop the ego, hold the sword, go. Yeah, that's great. You're great.
Ditto, straight back at you. And I'm gonna show you our Earth Walk farewell, which, you know, oftentimes we see people holding up peace signs and doing the whole thing. But we do the three, like honoring all 3 points, and the win-win for all. And if we want to go Earth Walk right there, EW. So right.
This is the next Star Trek. Right? Remember, he did live long and prosper.
Exactly. So love you. Thank you for that beautiful, beautiful, you know, spreading of love in all the realms. And I look forward to more. Noah, are you here with us? I see him in the room. Are you able to join us? Okay. Well, so improv time. Russell and Gary, I know that we're going to be transitioning with some of the beauty that you have to share with the realm of music and art. Are you ready for that, or?
I love you. We are so in jazz right now.
Yeah.
Popping and weaving and flowing and grooving. Preferably, I'm doing a big pregnant pause, stall, hard embrace to brother Noah if he can come on. And if not, I'm feeling that for me it would be better to. It's more of a journey. It's a journey, not more. It's a journey. So I don't want to break that up. I think Gary though. Maybe we'll bookend it, and Gary, maybe offer one of your beautiful pieces, and then I can flow in, and we'll just keep flowing. What do you think, Gary? You're on mute, brother. You're on mute.
Hey, everybody. What a lovely little circle. Hi, Deborah. Nice to see you. Deidre. Oh, my God. Haven't seen you in a few years. Anyway, I will try to be as invisible as possible. But Gary, get out of the way. The question is, I have a piece on the piano, but my miking system is not working that well. So the question is, if I can do a piano piece and a song, each about 3 minutes long, or should I just do the song and let it go?
No. What I think. Let's have you do the piano piece. I would love to hear that. And I just want to just take a moment and properly. I love the word proper from my British friends. A proper introduction to Gary. Before I'm pretty well versed with technology and streaming these days, so we'll make sure that everyone is on mute to be able to maximize your connectivity. And you probably know, Gary, just if you see up in the upper left, turn on original sound. If you can do that for you, it'll be a cleaner stream. And then we'll make sure everyone is on mute, including myself, once I introduce you, and Sadiq as well, because that'll keep it clean. So yeah, I would love for you to do your piano. We want to feel your heart, even if it's not quote unquote perfect in the technology. Your music is perfection. So I just want to introduce Gary in that way. And it's funny, like in the cosmic giggle of it, remembering we have to have a sense of humor, or we go insane, pretty much. So I just messaged to Gary. I'm like, yeah, brother, it's like, here's the flow. Noah's going to come on, then I'll go to you. You got about an hour, man. We're flowing. And then boom, you're up. So thanks for flowing with it, because that's, you know how to make the goddess laugh. Tell her your plans, right? So there were our plans, and everybody giggled from above and from within. And here we are. And so I got the awesome opportunity to meet Gary as part of our sector, our realm of art and culture. And one of the most beautiful ways to meet someone is without any history at all. We came into the realm, fresh, with fresh eyes, fresh heart. And what unfolded was pure magic with the other stewards of that realm. And we had one of the most life-nourishing, affirming conversations that really represented the heart of art and culture. And what I got to find is, like, Gary's one of my newest favorite people, and absolutely like a kindred spirit. And I don't use those words lightly. It's like just something that just is, and the words are poetic, but the living reality of those connections. The soul just knows, the soul feels, the soul celebrates when it recognizes, one of its brothers and sisters. And that's what I felt with Gary. Beyond any of even the music that he played, then he played his music, and it just melted my heart. In the heart of heaven opened up. So I think that's probably the best intro I could give to my dear brother. And I honor all those sacred connections that we have the honor in the human walk to be able to have with each other. And so many have been made during our ritual here together. And all the ones beyond all of this. That's really what it's about. We really live for those moments, for these moments of authentic connection. And as our brothers talked about earlier, about the nonviolent communication, Corey and I forget the other brothers' names, but what they really spoke about was
John and Paul.
John Paul.
They came back.
I love what you were saying, and I totally lost the thread, but I was just so moved because of this great work that's being done, and that we really do. We live for these moments when we can really be here for each other, because we are truly here for each other. So thanks for stewarding that incredible work. Thanks for this work, Sadiq. And with that, Gary, hallelujah, brother.
Unmute. Gary, you're muted.
I should know.
You're still muted, my friend.
Oh my God. I thought I did it. So you are the Hafiz of holding space, the poetic ecstasy and intimacy that introduction had exceeded anything I've ever experienced. Okay. So thank you. This would be my prayer, is that I'd be able to drop in with this short piece of music, even on my out of tune piano, because it's a spinet that hasn't been tuned. And then the piece that's more inspirational, which is about 4 minutes, maybe I could do after your sound thing. Is that good?
Applicator, we have time, man. Flow with it. If you want to do, just take your time, man, and just share with your, there's no rush. We want to really.
First of all, can you hear this?
Very well. Yeah.
Right, good. Okay. So this piece came out of the scoring process of Thrive, which was a birth process for me that has become a chrysalis experience. And during this process, I had to write music to support an understanding of the unified field. I had to absorb my understanding of the field within my heart, soul, and body and mind. And at the point when we had to really acknowledge the things that had been lost, the energy inventors that had been oppressed, the integrative health doctors that had been assassinated and pushed in exile, I found that my calling, which was started 20 years ago, which was to honor the power of death and grief and loss, is the doorway to our humanity and to everything that we are. And I realized it's very selfish of me. My objective is to be in joy and ecstasy and connection. What I found is our unexpressed griefs are one of the prime areas that muck up the works of us getting to be as full human beings as we possibly can be. So this piece is meant to induct you into an experience of grieving the things that we have lost. But the beautiful thing about Arkan Lushwala, my wonderful indigenous teacher, says is grief is meant to be dropped in, fully felt, and moved on so you can experience the beauty of life. And if you don't get through that tunnel, you're going to be challenged to live a spiritually immature life for the rest of your days. Here we go. This is just a piece to just drop in. It's called Elegy for the Things We Lost. Forgive the sound quality and just let the transmission do its work. what I know about the assimilation of grief is that the moment the sound takes its ride into silence and the shore meets the waters of silence and sound, something happens in our ability to drop into, assimilate, and fully digest the losses we experience so that we can feel fully grateful and alive and joyful. So may that be in service to us downshifting from our minds into the magic of Russell's deep commitment to sonic, vibrational field tending as we sacralize the space with sound and with Russell's gorgeous intention. Aho.
Sorry about that.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for your beautiful, beautiful blessing. Like I can feel my entire system just relaxing and just being caught into just the process of unwinding. And I had this image, like as you were sharing and spreading, if you will, like that energy and that medicine. I had this image, and Deirdre and I were talking about that we both have been having a vision of getting stadiums filled with humans and doing powerful mass healing events. And I saw you there playing in the center of a stadium, just like playing your music, strumming to the harps of humanity, helping us unwind the deep pains and wounds that are there. And I just deep heart bow.
Sadiq, when I realized my purpose, which is I just want to address the beautiful conversation the two of you had, I was so in love with the passion and the resonance. When I found my purpose, it was when I had my death. And Russell, I won't go on more than 30 seconds, but my death that happened with an accident awakened me to my purpose, which gave birth to Graceful Passages, which has touched 1 million people, recontextualized loss. And I never knew that my purpose was to crack open the heart so people can be fully themselves. I didn't know that till a late bloomer. So now my service, if I could be of service to you guys in helping us assimilate the most common obstruction of aliveness, which is unresolved trauma and loss and grief, I would be I would be deeply honored. So thank you for that.
Yes, please. And as Deirdre shared in her piece, like we all serve our sacred part. Like as in Earthwalk, we say we all have a piece in peace. Like we all have our piece to peace. Like, and it's there's no savior coming. It's we're not waiting. Like we are that. Like there's nothing that we are waiting for. We have to go deep inside and find the magic within and express our note, our music, our particular thread of the magic. And I see you doing it so beautifully.
Sadiq, thank you. And one more thing. You didn't know that I almost played music for Deirdre's wedding. Oh, and I haven't seen Deirdre since
the wedding.
Which was how long ago, Deirdre?
That was almost 6 years ago, or 6 years ago.
So nice to see you again. Thank you, Sadiq.
See you again. So we're like planets. You know how they circle and then come back around?
Absolutely.
So here we are. It's you're the sun. Here's Gary. Oh, here's more again.
Missed that cycle. Let's catch it on the next one.
No, we're here. We're locked and loaded now.
Sorry, I kind of got effervescent here, and we're starting to wind down, and all of a sudden I wound us up again. Sorry about that, but we want to make sure that we prepare the space for what Russell's about to do, because it is about dropping in and dropping down. And so sorry, I couldn't contain myself.
Pretty funny.
Sorry. Okay. All my love, you guys.
Love you too. And really quickly, just want to check in. I see Noah is here in name. Are you actually here with us, Noah, right now? Are you able to come on? I just want to check in there really quickly. Okay. So And as Russell, as you're preparing, I want to just share really quickly with Deirdre, just having fun, like with the orbits and what have you, and just a fun, playful correction is my name Sadiq. Literally, the origin of the word comes from tzedek, which is justice, but also it's the name for the planet Jupiter. So I'm not the sun. although science has shown that Jupiter is in fact a mini sun. So
Another conversation. I could go on and on about this.
totally. Are you ready, Russell? Yeah. Okay. Beautiful. Go ahead and spotlight you. I can't hear you. Can't hear you, Russell.
That's because I shifted my audio.
That now we can. Beautiful.
So Sadiq, I also sent you a private message, which I was just saying, just monitor for anything egregious and send it to my text, which will be over here, because I can't see the comments over there from here. So if anything egregious happens, just pop me a message here and I can adjust. But do a quick little sound check and just some thumbs up to make sure the mics are balanced here from.
Okay.
Oh, sorry about that. We were already flowing with some echo and reverb. We also have, honoring the elements, we also have some natural, quote unquote, white noise. We have some of nature's beautiful soundscape. We have some gentle rain flowing here, which you might hear bouncing off the, reverberating off the roof of the mothership, as she's called, my beautiful RV. Been a traveler. I'm a traveler. And so I've been here in the mothership, and this is my mobile studio, the Mothership Central. Mothership Central meets Earthwalk Central. So as
hey Russell, you're kind of soft. It's really hard to hear you.
Yep. And actually, it's funny, Margie. I was going to say, Margie, will you message me too? I'm going to turn this up. How's that?
That's much better.
Much better.
All righty. Yeah, we have so many adjustments, so many resources. So yeah, there is, a strange thing with the Zoom interface. It's not meant for audio, but we're doing our best and pulling it off. So it's more about where we're coming from as a collective and the prayer that we're fanning the fire with. And I just want to thank Lynn McTaggert for the beautiful ritual that she contributed, the greater ritual we're in, but her part in it, and the power of prayer. I think we all know, we're kind of preaching to the choir here at this point, but we all know, but it's so important to have the reminders. Just we come into that childlike way of being, in that place of wonder, the child's mind, the child's heart of wonder, where everything is fresh and new. And that doesn't erase suffering. Suffering's a part of life, but it helps us to be able to approach life in a freer way, in a fresher way, with fresh eyes and a fresh heart, with great compassion, as we've been tending to that fire all morning today. Just the fire of the heart, the compassion, is really what's going to help transform this world. To be able to come into that place, to be able to deepen our intimacy with each other, to really hear and understand each other. So with a little bit of a sound check here, we're going to roll into a shamanic sound healing journey, which is one of my greatest joys and greatest offerings that I can bring to the world. It's a sonic prayer. So I'll be praying it in there, and also one of my gifts as an orator and the oral tradition of praying and the magical weaving of words and sounds. And because more important than anything that I say is the place that I can most deeply connect with and bring that through my mind, body, heart, and soul into this world as my offering. This is what I seek to do, is really tune in as deeply as possible to listen and feel the depth of my own divinity, depth of my own heart, and the love and the care that is in there, that sometimes words escape me to be able to really share that. So I find that music, and I know my brother Gary and so many of us feel that music is such an incredible medium to bring this through. So I just want to do a little check on the instruments, make sure we're good here. Here's for Deirdre. The big mama bowl of love. Let's do a didgeridoo check. Fantastic. All right, my beautiful friends. So I invite you to find yourself in an even more comfortable space. And if you can, doing any kind of a cell phone check, and you put your cell phone in airplane mode if you can, because we are about to take off. Laying down is absolutely welcome. Meditative posture is welcome. Whatever is most comfortable for you. I like to lean into, especially in a journey like this, is to give yourself space to really unplug so we can plug into ourselves, unplug from external, be able to drop inward. And deep relaxation is a healing art form in itself. In this world, the way we have developed, we've become so overwhelmed and overstimulated and stressed beyond measure in ways we just can't even imagine until we are confronted with those and realize we can get so cranked up. So giving ourselves permission to be able to let go, and maybe for this next, however long this is going to be, give ourselves permission to receive, because this is definitely a community of givers, caretakers of so many different communities and people and family members. And maybe we can give this time to ourselves. As we know, we need to be able to give to ourselves. One of the hardest things in this life is to receive. Seems easy on one level, but just notice how quickly, when we offer someone a compliment, how quickly they may deflect it or offer one back. So let's give this time to ourselves to fill up our cup. And perhaps first we need to empty our cup of some things that we've taken on, maybe from this morning or this past week or this past year especially, but maybe through decades of accumulation of heaviness and tension that just gets stuck in there, sticky within our own conscious, within our own meridians, our own energy system, our own field, within our own minds, on any level, conscious, subconscious, unconscious. So we call forth the prayers for this purification, cleansing on the deepest levels of mind, body, heart, and soul. And with that, if you are in a place where you can let your eyes close naturally, seeing yourself in a safe space, maybe encircling yourself in the light of a warm, nourishing, safe hug, the embrace of the arms of love of the Great Mother. As I'm very dear to the Peruvian shamanic tradition, you may hear me using Quechua words from the great Quechua tradition, the culture of this great sonic languaging in this incredible culture that embraces the medicine of the Andes. So let yourself be embraced by the arms of Pachamama, Madre Tierra, Mother Earth, and the Divine Mother, Pachamama. We give thanks to the Holy Mother, the giver of life, the Mother of life. And again, archetypically, in our own personal way, how we feel those arms of love from within. And perhaps we haven't been held in love in many ways in our life. So we turn inward to the inner mother within us to restore the embracement of love and restore safety within our own hearts and bodies and minds and souls. And let ourselves be a beacon of that safety to the world. Slowing down. And let us remember that sometimes, a lot of time, coming into stillness and doing quote unquote nothing allows the greatest impact. So bringing full attention to the breath, we begin to drop in now. Coming around to an exhale, emptying our cup, emptying the vessel. Giving ourselves permission to soften 10 times deeper. call upon the spirit of healing. And even the words are coming through me. It is us who are gathering here now, bringing through this prayer together with our collective intention, with our collective heart, with our depth of care. We join together to pray for those who have no one to pray for them. We pray for them. For those who don't have space to be able to take a breath, who are just in survival to get food on the table for their families, we take a breath for you and take a moment for you to cultivate peace within ourselves and let it feed out through the web of life. For as we are fed, all are fed. Softening 100 times deeper, giving permission to be wrapped in the arms of love, to favor the heart. Perhaps bring our hands to our heart if that feels natural for you. Hello, beautiful heart. Thank you for your incredible service to this body and to the world. Not just circulating blood around my body, but being a gateway, a portal in the inner realms, the deeper realms within my being, a portal into my soul, into Wilkakwichi, the sacred rainbow bridge connecting my humanity to my divinity. I take a deep breath to cleanse and purify the rainbow bridge, that connection, to be able to feel my spirit, my soul, in my body, to embody that which is most real and true, to allow my soul and my spirit to harmoniously inhabit my physiology, to create heaven on earth, the embodiment of my spirit, fully here, fully feeling, to best be with whatever tensions and confusions and sufferings and anxieties that I truly have the honor to embrace, as painful as it is, to be able to transform, to perform the alchemical magic, to transform all into medicine, to transform by being with, to transform the tensions and pains into peace. Inviting in even a deeper breath. Allowing our psyche, the energy within to unravel, to soften, open, to untangle this multi-dimensional knot of our being, to bring attention and care to that which needs our attention and love. Coming back to the breath over and over again. Welcoming the breath as an ally. a medicine to help us soften and receive and be nourished. And as we connect inward, the breath softens as we soften 1,000 times deeper to receive and be nourished. Soften even deeper now. Allowing the sounds to wash over our being and through our being. What is still needing more attention. Just bringing the light of our attention, the care of our attention, into those deep, subtle spaces that have been aching to be met and heard and felt and bead with. Allow ourselves to be bathed in the sounds. Let them wash us clean. Even a deeper, more luxurious breath. As we soften in to allow harmony with our inner nature, our natural, innate wisdom. This is the same wisdom as outer nature. Allowing harmony of our inner and outer nature. The intelligence that allows a flower to blossom, a tree to grow is the same that allows our hearts to beat, our eyes to see, a cut to heal, a bone to mend. We humbly bow to this inner intelligence, this all-pervading intelligence that is nourishing, breathing life into existence. Any thoughts that come up, we embrace them with love and acknowledge, like one of our millions of children. Thank you, beautiful mind, for sharing. I welcome you. Thank you, beautiful emotions. I welcome you. Even especially the painful ones, I welcome you. There's space within my heart for you.
spirit of La Selva, the great sacred jungle, the medicine cabinet of the earth. We welcome the spirit of this medicine, the deep forest, the great solace, the great healing, the great vitality in the heart. Madre Tierra, Mama Pacha, the natural world. Thanks to the great medicines of this world, the indigenous cultures, the Aborigines. Humble bow to the Aborigines, guardians of the inner world, the dream world, keepers of the sacred wisdom, the dream world, helping us to travel well in the inner realms.
Slowly beginning to bring our attention even more fully into our bodies, if we're not already there. Just favoring a deeper breath. Have the intention to integrate gracefully all that we've been receiving in this moment, today, this past week, this past year, past decades. May it effortlessly, easily, and beneficially integrate in the most nourishing way for the benefit of all sentient beings, all of life. May every breath, every touch, every thought, every feeling be correlated to our divinity, flow from the heart of the spirit of care, the source of our lives, where we're all connected. We breathe the same breath. And another nice deep breath. Just allowing a favoring of this moment, this breath, this body, transitioning whatever way feels most beneficial. Breathing into this moment, more here, cultivating, concentrating our energy, anchoring it now with a nice deep inhale. Sipping a little more at the top, suspending the breath, breath held, body relaxed, with the intention to integrate all that is most beneficial. Then with a nice deep sigh, exhaling down, nourishing our roots into the heart of the mother, the womb of the mother, releasing all that is unbeneficial. As we allow our breath to come back to a nice natural rhythm, you can always return to the ally of the breath, which is now ever more imprinted with this nourishment to help us remember that which is most real and true and sacred, the heart of our hearts, the womb of our being, the spirit that is life, flowing from the heart of peace. And with that, I pass the fire of this prayer. Thank you for fanning this fire with me, fanning it together, because though I was speaking and maybe the instrument of this, we were all feeding it. As I was feeling all of you, as we were feeding this together, feeding it to all we're doing. We just take turns, sharing, speaking, being, dancing. So thank you for the opportunity to serve you in this way. And to you, brother. Oh.
Wow. That was just beautiful, Russell. Thank you so much. Really, really just gorgeous. Sadiq, you are muted.
I just saw that. I said, he's back. Welcome, welcome.
Yeah, to be honest, I lay down and just really dropped into that experience. It was lovely. Actually, starting with Deirdre. So, I want to thank you, Deirdre, that you put me into a beautiful meditative place, and then Russell's beautiful music. So thank you both. That was really quite lovely.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Saad. And I just want to share there, Scott, it's been great to commune with you. And for me, same with kinship and sisterhood, and brotherhood is a verb. It's been great to circle back around with you where you've grown in your prayers and be able to come together and be able to commune in this way and share in this way. And same with Sadiq. It's been amazing, as we walk this path. Some people come into your life for a reason, some for a season, some for a lifetime. And it's always a blessing and unexpected who circles around, and whoever thought we'd be here sharing this sacred space and fanning the fire of this prayer. So thank you for creating such a safe space. Thank you for tending to the fire of your community. and an honor to be here, and look forward to making more magic with you. In the spirit of magic, I see Noah is here, and I just want to tune in Sadiq. I know that Gary had a bookend for a special song, I think a 3-minute song. It's kind of an anthem transition out of the deep meditative space into more of a communal space. Would you be open to that? I know I just kind of set you up. It's hard to say no, but
How could we say no to Gary Malkin? Gary Malkin's like one of our favorite all-time musical performers. We love Gary.
yeah,
So yeah, Gary, you got something for us?
I was kind of leading the witness, but I just love Gary, and we're all so blessed
Gary.
by your presence, Gary. So
Gary is a blessed and beloved brother for sure.
oh,
Thank you, brother. You know, I just it was fine if you didn't, but I will share this because I love to share it. And again, I'm some people think I focus so much on death. I don't really, but in this moment, there's so much of unacknowledged impermanence in our consciousness. So instead of play the piano, I'm gonna sing a song that everybody knows who knows me. It's the song that I sing. It's sort of like the song accompaniment to graceful passages in the sense that it's designed to wake us up to the reality that we're not going to be here one day, and then how sweet and precious our life becomes when we realize it. So I'm just going to do it a cappella because one of my heroes is Brene Brown, and our vulnerability is the birthplace of our authenticity and innocence. So I'm just going to sing it to you guys right now, and you heard it before, Scott. Here we go. Written for my sister Alexis. And let's just feel the preciousness of life as we hear this song. The sun comes up, I hear a cry. A baby's born, I see her eyes. Made of grace and a wisp of stars. Do you remember who you are? We take first steps and we fall each day. Then we take that breath, go on our way. We're made of hope and a wisp of stars. Do you remember who you are? Seasons come and seasons go, like clouds pass through the sky. First we're born and then we go, without ever for knowing why. We have this moment, we have each other, we have this breath of life that's gone. In a blink of an eye, we fill our days with endless goals, yet we search and pray to find our souls. We're made of song and a wisp of stars. Do you remember who you are? We plant a seed and watch it grow. A flower blooms, but the petals know where a flash of light and a wisp of stars. Do you remember? Will we remember? We will remember who we are. And as a vow, I invite you to put your hand on your heart if you choose, and this song goes like this. We will remember who we are. We will remember who we are. We sing it together even though we can't hear one another. We will remember who we are. We will remember who we are. And just, we will remember who we are. We will remember who we are. We're a flash of light and a wisp of stars. Will you remember who you are?
Oh, my Lord, Gary is so beautiful.
Our life is a Disney musical. Thank you. I don't mean to disparage at all. I just love the beauty of celebrating our impermanence. So thank you for the honor to share it.
Oh, thank you, Gary. It's just, my heart is just wide open. What a beautiful way to conclude this really beautiful Sacred Sunday. And I want to thank you and all the people that, really made this happen today. Of course, Sadiq for putting all of this together. Russell for your beautiful experience. Deirdre, really enjoyed the meditation and helping us to remember to really drop into the quiet observer and tune into that part of ourself. And those of you who've been watching, Margie, Deborah Haviland, of course, earlier we had John Kenyon and Paul Sterling and the Across the Aisle team. So it's been a very, very full Sunday. And our Sacred Sunday continues. Want to invite all of you that we're going to have a Fantuzzi style rainbow global live stream happening. It's going to be starting in 45 minutes. It's going to also be on my Love Coach Academy page. We're hosting and Zooming, and Fantuzzi always gets amazing musicians from all over the world to join him. So please, please, please join. If you want to come into the Zoom room, you can register for it. And there's the link, and it's free. Just register and that'll get you into the Zoom room. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So Sadiq, I'm sure you probably have a couple of announcements to make as well.
Yeah, and also, first of all, again, thank you. As I text messaged you just a little bit ago, you rock. You're amazing. I love you very, very deeply, and thank you. And one piece as far as the Rainbow online gathering that's starting in a short while. Just a highlight there, Earthwalk will be joining at 3:33 p.m. Pacific time. I'll actually be doing an intro around 3:30 for our global moment of peace. We're inviting the entire world, starting back at 10/10/2020. We've been inviting the entire world to take a moment at 3:33 p.m. For peace, to dedicate that moment as a pathway to honor all 3 points in the traumas at times of life that we honor all of our parts. And with that, I want to invite our last guest to share a piece of storytelling. Noah, are you with us? Are you ready?
I'm right here.
Beautiful. Let's go ahead and bring you in. And welcome. We have about 5 minutes, I believe, to bring in your wisdom, to bring in your joy, and welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just feel so blessed to feel that journey right into the heart. And there was a story I was going to tell called The Land of Infinite Possibilities. But right now there's this other story that keeps on coming to my heart, and it's the story that I wish we could tell to every child in the world that's going through what they're going through. And it's the story called, What If Everything's Okay? What if we woke up each and every day, and instead of thinking of all the problems we had to solve, we remembered this one glorious truth that God gives us. And it's that actually everything's okay. What if once we dropped all the tension from our bodies, our bellies, our stomachs, our spirits, we dropped all the problems we thought we had to fight behind us, and we woke up each and every day and we said, everything's okay. We go to the police officers uniformed in the street, holding themselves ramrod straight, ready to retreat from the laws and the restrictions they're implementing. And we went and touched their hearts and said, what if everything's okay? What if the landlords and the rent collectors woke up and they said, wait a minute, everything's okay? What if every single family in America and around the world woke up and realized that all this game of need, of desire, was all a game? And we could finally let that game go. Because when we wake up, we know that there is enough food, there are enough homes, there are enough air, there are enough hugs to go around the world 1 billion times over. And maybe the only problem that we've been having is thinking there was a problem that we had to insulate ourselves from by creating structures and building things that would protect us from the fear of the fact that life goes in cycles. There's abundance and there's lack. But that's okay, because when we're all in it together, there is enough for each and every one of us. When every single day we wake up with this one prayer in our hearts and our minds. What if everything? What if everything? Just for this one moment, just for this one day. What if everything was okay?
Thank you, brother. That was beautiful. And I invite the entire world to ask that question over and over.
Awesome.
Sorry,
I will not be muted. That was awesome. Love it, man. That's gorgeous. Everyone needs to hear that.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brothers. I feel so blessed to see your faces and tap into the heart tribe right here.
Thank you very much, Noah. That was pretty awesome. What an abundance of riches we have with so many beautifully talented people. There's Jonah and his beautiful daughter. So We do need to wrap up because I've got to switch to a different Zoom room for, I promised Fantuzzi and his musical artists that at 1 o'clock I'd open up that Zoom room. So thank you everybody for your incredible contributions. This amazing weekend that we're having is going to continue on, all culminating as we really launch into a whole new paradigm. So Sadiq, do you have any final things that you would need to share, which I'm imagining you might?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Scott. And yeah, I just want to close it out really quickly. First, just thanking everyone for joining us today. It's been a whirlwind of blessing and magic. I wanted to bring in like one of my collaborators here, Jonah Martin Lyon. He's one of the members of the Earthwalk Global Council and was sort of my right hand, if you will, with the Whole Person Convergence and bringing together so much beauty, helped with some of the design for the 12 days of the Whole Person Convergence, and a true mastermind, powerful, powerful being. And I feel honored and blessed to be in a co-creative space with this Lion King. And just wanted to bring his voice in as we closed and just thank all of you in the space. And yeah, Jonah, welcome.
Aloha, everyone. I just want to say one thing. There's not really too many words other than this that's coming up for me, and that is Mahallelujah. Giving thanks and praise to all of you. Thank you so much for everything, who you are. Thank you for being here. Everything is okay.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you, Jonah. Yeah, and also just the last bit of announcements is after the show with Fantuzzi and the whole Rainbow Gathering tribe, that ends at 5:30 Mountain Time, and then at 5:55, Earthwalk is going to be coming back on our page. You can find us at earthwalkunited.org and go to the live stream on the homepage. You can also find our Facebook page, which is the /Earthwalk United. And we will be having a Solstice Eve fire ceremony followed by a global masquerade dance party. So come, dress up, wear the costume you want to dance into the new world with, and celebrate with us as we are letting go fully of the Piscean age and stepping fully the next day straight direct as we walk into the age of Aquarius. Love you all. Thank you. And Scott, again.
Aloha. 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 You know what's wonderful about the word aloha is it means hello, goodbye, I love you, and until we meet again. It means all those things. So hello, goodbye, love you. And we'll see you all very soon, hopefully for Fantuzzi in half an hour.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.